Hey, everybody, thanks for joining us. We made it. Yeah, the Seahawks Syndicate. Dan from Seahawks Forever, Mookie from Field Goals, Bryce from the Hawks Eye, and look who decided to join us tonight. Corbin Smith, longtime Seahawks beat reporter, Emerald City Spectrum, Locked on Seahawks, all of that. So we're going to share with you today our thoughts from what we saw today on the practice field at camp, a little bit of what I saw yesterday up close. Corbin's been here for most of the 10, Brett, 8 of the 10.
8 of the 10.
So we'll get kind of the big picture view from you. And look, if you're joining us and you're wondering, wait a minute, this is the Seahawks Syndicate. Where's Brandon? Where is Brandon? Well, here he is. Hey, look at that. Brandon Kane joining us from sunny San Diego. How are you, my friend?
I'm doing great, man. I'm jacked that you guys are there in person and we get some nice little nuggets from you guys. And it's been a great training camp, so loving things.
We got X-Wing is here and his lovely wife sitting over there hanging out. We got the Mariners behind us. They still haven't scored a run with their new lineup. But at least home Brian Wu is sticking to his name and doing home Brian Wu things. We're happy to be here. A whole lot went into this. We've been promoting this for a long time. So thanks you guys for hanging out with us tonight. We will take your comments, questions, just a very free-flowing kind of format tonight. We're just going to kind of toss it around, talk about some things we saw. We're going to talk about Hard Knocks. I know you haven't seen it yet. Right?
I've watched a few scenes of it now.
Okay, enough clips have been out there.
I'm the weird one here. I don't like anything that's like reality TV or anything like that. Like I just don't watch it.
Oh, all right. Not a Survivor fan apparently.
No.
I'm the same, Corbin.
Bryce just got to watch it here. They played it on the screens here for us at Fast Fashion Brewing, which, by the way, if you have a chance to come down and join us tonight, we'll be on for probably the next hour and a half or so, 1723 First Avenue South, but certainly Friday is our town hall show. We're going to have a live mic out there. You can all step up and ask questions. We're going to give some stuff away. I'm going to give away my season tickets to the Dallas Cowboys preseason game, and we're going to have a lot of fun on Friday. So if you're coming out maybe for the Mariners 50th celebration, and then if you're coming down to Football Fest on Saturday at Lumen Field, that starts at 5:20. We're going to go live at 2:30. We're going to hang out for an hour or so before we have to pack everything up and head over to the stadium. So if you're planning on going to that practice, swing by and see us as well. Let's start with this. You and I talked about this a little bit yesterday as well. We've heard a lot over the last week or so about how good the offense has been.
Yep.
Against this defense, and we know how good that is. And we should have expected some success from the offense, right? 10 returning starters, but against the defense that led the league in scoring last year, 7 players coming back that played 400 snaps or more. The pendulum has shifted back a little bit, as things tend to do in football. And I think the general sense today, I know we were watching up from the berm today, was defense kind of ruled the day again, don't you think?
Yeah, other than Jackson Smith and Jigba. I mean, look,
yeah, he was pretty good.
If you don't know, Jackson Smith and Jigba is pretty damn good.
He is.
He's pretty fun to watch. We even had an instant replay in this practice with Jackson Smith and Jigba, which, by the way, I was literally 5 yards from that. He got both feet down.
Yeah.
That was
Curtis Crabtree said the same thing. Yeah, that was
Curtis was right next to me, I think.
Catch.
Yeah, it was a phenomenal catch. And Rashid Shaheed is lighting it up.
Ooh, he had a good day.
The defense, though, gosh, man, you talk to Derek Hall about it after practice. Like, there are just certain guys that you've watched play over and over again, and you still get wowed by him sometimes. Big Cat is that guy. Yeah. Like, he just does things that, especially now, 12 years in the league, that he's still doing. It's just insane.
Yeah, they had a red zone session late in practice down on the end that's nearest the VMAC facility. And I think it was either 2 out of 3 plays or 2 consecutive plays. He just absolutely blew up. Just completely destroyed. You guys thought the same thing. I know you like to watch the quarterbacks. We're going to talk a lot about that today. But defense sort of ruled the day?
Yeah, defense definitely ruled the day. And I think the other thing we saw today, guys, is we saw the corners and the secondary. Max and Hook got in there and actually played quite a bit with the 2 unit, which I was surprised.
He a lot, yeah.
Looked pretty good in that and comfortable there, but I was really impressed with Andre Fuller and Michael Dansby today, and even Nehemiah Pritchett, like these young corners that a lot of people have been kind of questioning, going, okay, how's this going to shape out when the roster breaks down at the end of camp? Seattle's going to have some serious tough decisions there to make with Fuller, Dansby, and Pritchett on like who do we keep, who do we like potentially try and sneak through to waivers if we can. I don't think you can with those guys the way they're playing right now.
Brandon, from where you are, what is the best thing that you've heard out of camp so far these first 10 practices?
Well, I think it is that the fact that the offense comes in and seems to be able to build upon the continuity and chemistry that you would think. All of this stuff is theoretical and fits to what you've seen in other football teams getting the opportunity to return so much from the prior year that had that much success. And you just think naturally with such a young roster that would improve. And defense coming back, ideally this is what you hope is some days offense wins, some days defense wins. But the fact that the defense under the new offensive coordinator here instantly out the gate for multiple days, I think as Corbin's confirmed there, that they've been able to really take it to them and not just simply hold on or do a little bit better than the defense, but really, I'm not going to say dominate, just be on the really other good end of it. And to me, that's a really great sign that this offense can build upon what they were really starting to have come together last year. As you saw, how are we going to play? How much do we have to run? What's the run pass split? Sam, how careful do I have to be within the context of this offense? You heard a little bit about that in Hard Knocks and Mike talking to him about the taking chances and limiting, though also putting the ball in danger. So I think that's been the biggest part for me.
And Mookie, let me ask you this just right off the top. We were here last year, spent about a week here. Now a year later, they've won a Super Bowl. What about this camp and what you saw or felt today seemed different to you from a year ago?
Honestly, not as much as when I think about it. I don't think a ton has changed. I don't think that the mindset is complacency. That's the one thing where we didn't have a padded practice.
Wait, but Bucky Brooks said that there would be complacency.
There would be complacency, and that's why they're going to be a 7-10 team. Yeah. So there's no point in continuing this episode. We can just sim the season and then just talk about the draft next year.
Hitting the A-Pot.
Yes.
Draft time.
So when it comes to the Seahawks, I think that, just looking at Hard Knocks and reading the quotes from the players and listening to the interviews, that they are believing in the, quote, run it forward mentality, which is last year, cool, we won a Super Bowl. But how can we even improve upon that? Like, can we be even more dominant? Can we win the Super Bowl more emphatically? So I believe that the defense, they did win the day for the most part, but it wasn't just the first team defense. I was impressed by the threes because just watching Jalen Milroe, he was scrambling a whole lot today. And a lot of that was because there was just nobody open. And some of those guys who were part of that secondary include Michael Dansby and Andre Fuller. So any concerns people had about the secondary, and maybe even added by the fact that Julian Neal remains out due to injury, I'm encouraged by what I see from these corners. I know that replacing Rick Willen is not going to be easy, as much as we're frustrated by some of his penalties or effort or tackling and all that. But when he was on, he was a top-tier corner for Seattle. But while Neal is out, I think guys like Igbenogany, Dansby, Fuller, they're all, and Pritchett especially. I thought Pritchett had one of the best days out of all the defensive players in practice. They're all stepping up to the plates and proving their worth, proving that they either belong in the team or they belong as starters. So I think the spirit of competition and intensity, I think we're going to see a ramp up Friday and Saturday when we assume they'll be doing padded practices. But I just get the sense that the Seahawks are not going to be, if they're going to be a lesser team this year, it might be because of maybe not being as talented as last year, and maybe those replacements for the free agents loss end up being a downgrade. But it's not going to be for, we won the Super Bowl, we can relax. That's not going to be the case under Mike Macdonald. I can guarantee you that.
We did feel, though, watching today's practice, that it did seem more subdued. It wasn't the most intense practice I've ever seen. Some of that maybe just because they're coming off a couple of padded practices. Today wasn't padded.
So they're only coming off one, and that is the thing that is the biggest change for me, watching how this training camp is playing out. They've had pads 3 of the 10 practices. So there hasn't been near as much physicality as what we've seen. Now, Macdonald explained that to an extent after practice today, saying that, look, typically we would have gone pads today, but we're a little bit banged up. So they've got a lot of guys that have been in and out of practice. I think Mike's just looking at it as a self-preservation thing right now.
Yeah.
Look, it's beginning of August. Let's keep guys healthy. Away from the season, you gotta ramp it up.
Yeah, it looks like we might have had a little audio problem there for a second, but I think it's okay now. But
It's all right.
certainly
Yeah,
help on the other end.
Finish that last point there, Corbin. The last sentence you said got cut off.
Yeah, I was just saying they at some point they've got to have multiple padded practices in a row to get themselves ready for the regular season. I mean, they're 1 month away, basically from week 1. So
Now we've talked about the defensive backs already. Can't talk about the DBs without talking about Devin Witherspoon, of course. He started out practice. We saw him on the field. He was playing mostly nickel, I thought, early on, and then we didn't see him. It sounded like a vet rest day kind of a thing, a
they've been
maintenance
doing
thing.
that a lot.
Look, he's been fully engaged. He's been participating in all of this stuff, even with the contract talks. You and I talked yesterday about how surprised we are that it hasn't gotten done to this point. You even indicated you thought you were under the assumption it was all done. It was just a matter of when they wanted to announce it. What's the latest you're hearing on Spoon's situation with the
you're
contract?
exactly what you're saying, and I've been hearing this for a week and a half. That they've got. Look, Devin Witherspoon would not be practicing in full right now if they did not at least have the blueprint put together for what this deal is going to look like. But I am a little bit perplexed that it has not happened to this point. And I don't know if the ownership transition is playing into this. I don't know if that's a factor, but I thought this was going to be done by now. So, but the fact that he's been practicing and he's been doing the team stuff till today, we've seen other guys not play the team sessions. Julian Love had a day that he did that.
Sure.
Like they're gonna do what they can to protect their vets. But I don't think there's anything on that front to worry about.
We saw some of that today too. I think maybe a little load management at play with. We didn't see Ernest Jones out there early in practice. They were giving Tyrese Knight quite a few reps at strong side linebacker. Just we weren't sure if he was banged up or not. But then Ernest came in and kind of finished the practice. Seemed like he was the guy the second half.
He's been dealing with a little bit of a foot thing.
Okay.
He exited practice last week. That's as much as we know. Mike Macdonald would not delve into what the injury was. But
a great opportunity for the second round or fourth round pick from 3 years ago. Tyrese Knight made a bunch of plays today. I think he accounted for himself pretty well.
I think honestly the conversation around Tyrese Knight can't cover, that there was that narrative that was kind of going around that he wasn't a great coverage linebacker. I think we can start to put that to rest, because watching him in coverage today, I think he ended up with one pick, or it might not have been given to him, off a Torrey Horton catch that bobbled up in the air. And then he, at one point, locked down Elijah Arroyo, where you look at that size comparison right in front of the goal line there.
Yeah.
You would expect that to be the advantage to the offense with Elijah Arroyo on Tyrese Knight. And Tyrese Knight was in the hip pocket of Arroyo and knocked the ball away. Like, Tyrese Knight's having a very good camp, it seems, right now, which again just leads to they are going to have a deep linebacking core again, where if we do have a injury like we did last year, I don't have as many concerns as I did going into camp this time last year.
Yeah, and another thing regarding Tyrese Knight, we got to consider perspective on his career. He wasn't the starter as a rookie until Dotson and Baker went, traded for Ernest, and then after they cut Dotson, Tyrese gets to be in the starting lineup. So we had half a rookie season, essentially. And then he has a heart issue, and I forgot the injury he had that required him to just miss much of preseason his second year. But
I think knee, wasn't it?
Was it a knee injury?
He had a knee injury, and there was also the heart issue that
Yes.
we didn't know much about.
Right.
So those first couple of weeks of the season, I'd say up until week 5 against Tampa Bay, he didn't look like he was moving physically at 100% or anything close to it. And afterward, he went from getting all the snaps to splitting time with Drake Thomas to Drake Thomas gets all the snaps. But Knight still found value on special teams, and when Ernest was out for a game, he gets two strip sacks of Jacoby Brissett, turns it to DeMarcus Lawrence touchdowns. So I think there's still room to grow for Tyrese. He certainly impressed a lot in practice today. I liked a lot of what Patrick O'Connell did. I mean, Patty O has always been kind of hanging around in the practice squad for a while,
Right.
but when he was called upon in the Tennessee game last year, he did quite well. I think he got a sack on Cam Ward, which was not an easy thing to do, as much as he was under siege. So I think that it was justified to be concerned about the off-ball linebacker situation last year when there were a lot of unknowns regarding Drake Thomas specifically. But you know what Drake Thomas can do, and he's got a justified contract extension. Ernest is criminally underrated by everybody else but us, it seems, meaning Seahawks fans. But if you got to rely upon Knight and O'Connell in a pinch, I think it can work just fine. I mean, we're not talking really too much about Chaz Surratt as anything other than special teams guy, although even he had some good moments today late in practice. And we haven't heard much. Like Chris Paul Jr., Corbin, if you can confirm, he's got to be dealing with something because we didn't see him
Ankle.
dressed.
Looks
Ankle?
like it's an ankle injury. He's been out for a couple of days, and I would think he might be out a little bit.
Yeah, okay. So that's going to be tough for him as far as because he was an intriguing stash by the Seahawks. The fact that the Rams cut him or the Rams waived him, and it was seen as a kind of a surprise move for a guy drafted in the 4th round, and for for Paul Jr. to stay on the practice squad the whole year. We knew pretty much nothing of what he could actually do on the field in a Seahawks uniform and a Macdonald defense. So we were hoping, and at least I was hoping coming into camp, that we would get to see a little bit of Chris Paul Jr. during these practices, but unfortunately that's going to be on hold for now.
I want to do something now because Brandon.
Oh. Cut again.
Turn my iPhone off. It keeps wanting to attach the microphone.
Real quick, Corbin, with what these guys are talking about with Tyrese Knight and with what he's did today, has he been since the start of camp pushing Drake Thomas, or is this a spell guy here? Like, is there truly a battle here, or is Drake embedded?
Drake is embedded. Drake's going to be the guy. Drake's had a great camp too, and he's flying all over the place. What I will say with Tyrese Knight, though, and Mike Macdonald kind of hinted at this last week, I'm wondering, and we've seen him do it a few times in practice, I'm wondering if they consider on passing downs using him off the edge, because he did that a lot.
Line up on edge
UTEP.
a couple of times.
Yeah, at UTEP he rushed a lot off the edge, so he's experienced, and he's 240 pounds. I mean, he's not the modern 225-pound tweener linebacker. Like he's got enough size. I mean, to be able to play that spot in pass rushing down. So we've already seen Seattle start to do that a little bit. There might be some ways they can get all three of those guys on the field together.
Yeah, and it might be a solution for them because sorry, Brandon, but from what we've seen from the 2s and the 3s, from the edge rushers outside of Dante Fowler being the veteran on that line, there hasn't been a whole lot that we saw today, and maybe you've been seeing Connor O'Toole, Aiden Hubbard.
It's been
pretty minimal.
I think minimal's being nice to be.
Logan Brown was locking up Connor O'Toole today, and we'll talk about the offensive line here in a little bit. I thought there were some interesting things in the rotation there, but Brandon, I'm glad you started down that road, because I wanted to ask you, since you're not able to be here with us, what do you want to know about what we saw or what Corbin has seen so far in camp that you haven't been able to lay eyes on?
Yeah, I think I would that'd be one of the first things there as we're talking, because then the one thing I'd wonder, I think it's a great point about off the edge. Are they opened up? Or are you seeing more potential usage of base packages, 3-4 true looks at times, especially with maybe even Maury taking a little bit of time to come back off the injury, that they can maybe go to that in the interim rather than kicking Witherspoon inside and have to take him off the out?
Yeah, that's a really good question. I don't think that's going to happen, because I think they love their nickel and dime packages with the depth that they have. And look, D'Anthony Bell's a really good player. D'Anthony Bell would probably start for a number of teams. That's why he got picked up by Carolina at the end of the year.
You get the feeling he's on the 53 because they know he might be claimed again, and they already went through that one. Right?
There's not another Nick Evenwari in the NFL, let alone in Seattle's roster. But he's the closest that they have in terms of, being a guy that's got enough size and play near the line of scrimmage. They are using Andre Fuller there a little bit.
Yes, I noticed that.
And I'm kind of intrigued by that, because I've watched his Toledo tape, and that dude, he's a tough son of a gun. Like, he likes to hit people. I'm curious where that goes, but D'Anthony Bell's the most experienced guy they have there. I still think Evenwari's playing week 1. I think, he was in a boot for a day or two, and then now he's walking around pretty good. Yeah. So I think he's going to progress pretty quick back from this.
This seems like we were talking a little bit about this today. We were reminiscing about 2013, 2014, where they had all that DB depth, and a lot of those guys ended up getting claimed when they were cut and playing significant reps for other teams. Kind of feels like it might be that kind of year. Whoever doesn't make the 53 in that secondary, there's a chance they're going to end up in another uniform.
And what makes it all the more fascinating, and this kind of goes off what Brendan was asking about, the idea of them playing all these nickel and dime sets when it could be 2 corners on the field a lot of the time. That's what, we have this really wide open third corner competition, but you've got like 7 safeties. I mean, Maxon Hook is a really good player. I coached against Maxon Hook in Indianapolis. That's the last guy in the NFL that I coached against, but he's a really good player. He's like the 7th or 8th safety on this football team.
Yeah.
Finley is coming off of an ACL, but he's looked good when he's had his chances. He's a really good special teams player. I've been very impressed by Rodney Thomas, and that's a guy that had 4 interceptions as a rookie for the Colts.
There was a moment today where we were talking about, like, he hasn't really flashed, and then he almost picked off a ball in the next rep.
Yeah, and he had an interception on Monday that was a fantastic one, jumped in front of a guy. He's very, very rangy, very smart guy, obviously Yale degrees, very smart guy. But you've got Tayakata looked really good again today.
Yeah.
He had a great practice yesterday. He's picked up right where he left off. You've got Bud Clark who can play in the slot. I mean, that's my point. Like, you might only keep 4 or 5, like 5 at the most corners, because you've got so many safeties that can also play corner. They can play slot.
Yeah.
And that's the versatility that Macdonald, I think, has preached in the secondary specifically. Like, we know Witherspoon can play all over the field, even though he was. I was talking about this before we went on air with it might have been Dan and some of our people in the audience about the destigmatize. We can't, pigeonhole players as, oh, he's a slot corner, number 5 overall pick for slot corner. Oh, JSN is a slot receiver. Well, the game's changed. There's a way more value now in being versatile, and also that the slot is not just a bit part role. And that's why you're seeing the increase in 5 DBs and 6 DBs on the field, not just with the Seahawks, but presumably league-wide as well. So for the Seahawks to have guys with corner and slot and safety experience like they do with Bud Clark and Andre Fuller, I think that is big. And Julian Neal as well. Like, Julian Neal, I believe, said he was a safety early on before he transferred to Arkansas.
When he was playing at
Fresno State,
he's and I still think Michael Dansby could play slot in a heartbeat, but I just haven't seen him do it with it. And I think part of it's because he's been so good on the boundary.
Yeah, and he drives to the ball real quickly. Like, it looks like he has good instincts. Like, there was a screen pass to, I think it was Emmanuel Henderson, and in a normal game state, I think he would have just sniffed that out for a TFL.
What I like about Dansby, look, the other reporters have been giving me, like, they're joking with me. They're like, you're Michael Dansby's agent, aren't you? look, I have been impressed by him since the first time I saw him at OTAs. That driving on the football is a huge part of it. Then I started watching Arizona tape, because all the really good DBs they had, you turn on the tape and you take a closer look, you're like, this guy, like, there was all this talk about trading Stukes, and I mean, they got a lot of really good players. But it's like, why was this guy? Why was this guy not getting noticed? Like, 36% completion rate last year in the Big 12.
Yeah.
Like, and you're seeing those traits out there on the field. And I was taken in. You were there yesterday when Adam Durde, when his eyes got the size of that TV screen when he mentioned Michael Dansby first.
Yeah.
Like, he is genuinely. And Dansby got a ton of 2s today. He is moving up the depth chart right now, and he should be, because he has been making a ton of plays.
He doesn't seem to waste movement. That's the one thing that you
Very
see
fluid.
he's very fluid in it. He doesn't have a wasted step or kind of a hitch in it, where you see some of these other guys and they have that. Like, they're not 100% sure in the footwork they're using to actually go and drive on the ball. For him, it's like, bang, foot's in the ground, I'm gone. And I'm just shooting out and I'm going and making a play. And the other thing is, he's, even when he makes the play, and you got, most corners, we've seen it over time, hey, I'm going to go make that play, and they miss, and then it's 6 the other way because they're the last guy. He's always in a position where he can at least still be in the position to make the tackle if he misses on the pass breakup.
Well, and you mentioned a phrase, he makes a play. He affects the football.
Yeah.
We've seen a lot of corners. I think this was kind of the thread throughout Shaq Griffin's tenure here in Seattle, is like, he'd be in position, he just wouldn't affect the football. He just wouldn't make a play. Michael Dansby seems to affect the football. Brandon, I want to ask you this, because you do so much work in the draft. You're already, getting pretty deep into the 2027 draft. And I can't remember if we've had a conversation about this or not, which is why I'm asking you now. I didn't know who Michael Dansby was when they drafted him. I had to play catch up a little bit and dig into him. Where were you familiar with him when his name was called? And then when you immediately pivoted and dug into him, as I'm sure you did, what were your thoughts about what you saw from him on tape?
Yeah, I was vaguely aware of him, as far as it wasn't a guy that I'd heavily scouted going in the process. You get to the day 3 guys, and it's always hit or miss on, whether you've really looked into it. I guess the thing, and this is the dismissive aspect that you got to toss away when you're looking at guys, is that you think about a guy like Tre'Davious Stukes or the other guys in that secondary that were drawing so many NFL eyeballs to it. How could they overlook something as they're looking literally at the tape? How could a guy that be this good be somebody that they've sort of just missed through as they're getting caught up on this guy over there? And Stukes was good, and the other guy was good as well. I believe, I can't remember his name. You had it, I think, Dan. But I think that was the part that just stood out to me. So I didn't get a chance to deep dive on him, but you could see the competitive streak that he brings that you absolutely need in quarterbacks, and not all cornerbacks have. I think sometimes Shaq Griffith, at times, to your point on that, didn't always have that kind of like, I'm not going to let you catch the ball from a spirit angle of things as much as an ability angle. And So I hadn't had a chance to really look too deep on him, no. But I liked the film that I saw. He looked competitive. He looked like he had pretty good size to him. But yeah, I was pretty blind on that one.
Every year in camp, there's a guy that just seems to make plays every day, and it seems like he's that guy.
And Montorie Foster is the guy on
Yeah.
offense.
Yeah.
Ricky White's been
The long
kind of in that,
sleeves and
but like
everything.
even today, Ricky White had a couple of catches, but Montorie Foster had a touchdown.
Yeah.
And he just every single day seems to show up. And I've now interviewed Nehemiah Pritchett, DeAnthony Bell in the secondary, and they both name dropped him. First off the bat, that was the guy that was the most under the radar that has impressed them.
I want to get to the offense. Before we do, let's talk some more about the pass rush. We touched on it a little bit ago. We love the core group, right? I mean, essentially, they replaced Boye Mafe with Dante Fowler. He sure looks like he fits in from what we've seen so far. But we know they like to go 5 deep. We know they've protected some young players. They kept Connor O'Toole on the roster all last year, even though he didn't contribute on the field. Jared Ivey's banged up right now. The undrafted guys this year, Marvin Jones, Aiden Hubbard. There's been lots of talk going all the way back to last year's trade deadline. Are they big fish hunting? Or they want to add another pass rusher, even after they signed Fowler? Like we said, we haven't seen much at all from those other guys that would be in position to compete for that other, at least to position themselves as a young guy that you can build around moving forward. Do you think they might end up having to go get somebody? Because I feel like right now, if one of those veterans gets hurt, then they're in acquisition mode.
Yeah, I still think Max Crosby at the trade deadline. Like, I know the Raiders can say, oh, we're saying kumbaya, everything's good. But if the Raiders are not surprising and they're in the playoff hunt, you have to go out and get assets for him if you're them. You just have too many holes in your roster, and we know John Schneider loves him some Max Crosby. And so I still think that's a possibility, regardless of what you think of what's in the back end. But the only guy that has jumped out a little bit to me during this process has been Jalen Gaines, who is
a couple reps today.
Montorie Foster and Jalen Gaines are two guys that got cut or they were waived injured early in camp last year. 99% of the time, those kind of guys don't get another shot in the NFL.
Yeah.
If you're an undrafted guy. Seattle brought both of them back end of last year. And they brought him back on future reserve deals. Clearly, they liked something about him. And Foster's had a great camp. But I think Gaines has been quietly doing a lot of good things. I'm disappointed with what I've seen from Aiden Hubbard most specifically. I really hope to see him.
He looks sluggish to me.
And he's their priority UDFA. I mean, he had the highest guarantees of any of the UDFAs they signed. And it was a small class.
Tape.
But, yeah.
He's looked like he's playing slow motion, and it's really felt that way since rookie.
He looks like he's hurt to me. He looks like he's not healthy.
Right.
I wonder if his head's swirling, right? There's a lot of stuff that Macdonald likes to do up front. And for a guy that basically put his hand in the dirt at Northwestern and went, in college, a lot of these guys don't do a lot of the stuff that Mike Macdonald asks, which is why our defensive front is so good. They can do so many different things with how they can bounce off one another. And you see, Byron Murphy will go and take a guard in the center and we'll have a guy loop underneath. I wonder if he's just thinking too much. What do I have on this? Is this my job on this, or am I doing this? Because if you watch his tape, he's not a bad pass rusher coming out of Northwestern.
It's just not showing up.
It's not showing up. It's not calculating across to now. You're playing at the NFL. There's some speed, and the mental side picks up.
I thought when the pads came out that he was the guy that I thought when the pads come out, he's going to really jump at. And it didn't happen. And I know he had 3 padded practices, but he just looks like he's playing at a different speed and not in a good way.
And also keep in mind that we had heard from Nicky Minori himself shortly after mandatory minicamp that they're planning on using him more as an edge rusher.
And they're going to.
And that they've even told him, according to him, that they see some Micah Parsons in his game. And so that's one thing to keep in mind, I suppose. If he was out there right now, we might be seeing that element from him.
You would be seeing that element. He was doing a ton of it in OTAs and minicamp. When he's back, whenever that time is, he is going to be the first slot edge rusher that we've ever seen. Because we saw him shut dudes down in the slot last year.
Yeah.
He can do that. He can play off-ball linebacker. He can play strong safety. I think he could play free safety, but they just don't really need him to. Yeah. He's more valuable to this team rushing. Because here's I'm thinking about Jamal Adams when he was here. Yeah. Jamal Adams, when he would go, there was literally I'm just rushing off the edge usually. And Nick Eamon-Wari can actually like stack up tackles and rip off blocks and stuff. Like if Jamal Adams had a guy block him, he's done.
Yeah.
But Nick Eamon-Wari can actually like look like.
Go ahead, man.
Huh? I'm in. I heard you guys. You came back.
Did you have a question?
Yeah, I did. Corbin, so I know what you're saying on Max and that you're looking and you're anticipating the team is going to make a run at him. And I think you're right that the Raiders are going to be silly by not doing so. Where you stand on what you'd like to see, we've been turning over a notion here on the Syndicate a little bit collectively and maybe getting a little bit greedy, right? Maybe getting a little bit too much of like feeling ourselves in the respect of what if we could get through this year? I mean, what if we get to the deadline and we find the pass rush is near where it was last year? And that you can save those picks. And for what's going to be a very rich draft and blue chip prospects rich, to be able to package that bundle there instead of for Crosby, your preference, your personal preference on this. If that was the stage where we find ourselves at the deadline, which route would you go?
I'm making the trade at the deadline because I don't think it's going to be as expensive. I don't think you have to give up as. And look, 12 draft picks next year for the Seahawks. Actually, I think it might be more than that.
Isn't it 13 now?
13 with the
Yeah.
Teasley.
Yeah.
It's 12 plus 1, yeah.
You're not gonna be if you draft 13 players next year.
Where are you putting them?
Where are you putting those guys at?
You're literally taking one at every position. including
Let me. What I'm thinking of, Corbin, is this. John's learned a lot of lessons off the first run. You remember Amara Darbo. You remember Chris Harper. I don't think he's making the same mistakes as prior. So what I think would be anticipated within this, built within this, would be the bundling and the packaging. While he's not moved up in a first round before, there's always the room for the first time of that happening. He's moved up multiple times in the second round before.
Yeah.
And so could he not do multiple packages? What I'm thinking here is about sustainability and taking a Super Bowl winner in the beginning of a window and cranking that window wide open for the ever-present future. And to be able to now add in real specific parts to the team of guys that you know what you're getting in would be kind of what I'd be operating on. Not from the picking the 12 picks.
And, maybe you guys will laugh, but why not both? Like, I think you can live in both those worlds when you have 13 picks. Like, I think
end up with Max Crosby and Dylan Stewart.
Like, think about it this way though. Like, if you trade your first rounder and you add in, like, I think that you wouldn't have to give up as rich of a price at midseason for him. Then you can turn around. Hey, I've still got maybe I've still got 9 or 10 picks there. I can still do some bundling. I can, and then John Schneider can trade back in a few cases if he wants to recoup a few picks. Like, you could still come out of there with 8 to 10 players, but get a chance to trade up. Like, I don't think that this has to be an either or thing because of that number of picks.
And to add to Corbin's point a little bit with that is you got to think the Rams are in most senses out of that market. Like, they weren't last year. They were kind of in that market with you. Mm-hmm. They aren't. If Aaron Donald comes back and they got Myles Garrett, they're not going to really potentially, maybe they take a swing, but not likely. Who knows where the 49ers are at with 20% of the roster currently injured? Who knows if they're back in that equation? So who are you betting with potentially? And this is where that price, to Corbin's point, could come down because the Raiders might sit there and go, okay, we want to get something. We want to restock our shelves and fix some of our holes. Yeah. Maybe we can, John Schneider and, Spy Tech look at it and go, okay, like, we'll give you a third, maybe a second, to go and do this. We don't have to give up our first, but you still at that point have double-digit picks to move back up into one of those rounds and grab somebody.
Yeah. In the meantime, though, he's not a traditional edge. He's not part of that group. But some of that can be taken up by a kid named Riley Mills, so we didn't get to see much of last year until late in the year. Of course, he had the unbelievable rep that will live on forever in the Super Bowl. We got to see him with pads on yesterday. He was a dominant player yesterday. Might have been the best player on the field yesterday. Even today without pads, you felt him.
Oh, you feel Riley Mills in some respects, not to the extent of Big Cat, but I could see that being a very, very clear future for Riley Mills with the way he moves up and down that line. And now that he's healthy and he's had an offseason, like, for a man his size, his first step is ridiculous.
Lightning.
It's lightning. And and then the power that comes with it. And the thing is, he's not just a pure power guy. That was the one thing I was expecting even to see today on some of his reps. Like, he's got like one move and then a small, like, he's got a repertoire. Like, if this guy wasn't injured in the college football playoff,
second round pick.
He's a second round pick. He's a top 50 player. You might have had to use your Arroyo pick to go get Riley Mills instead of being how lucky you were to wait until the 4th, 5th round to pick up a guy that is a top 50 player.
Yeah, when you think about Riley Mills' story, I mean, when I spoke to him during Super Bowl week when I was down in San Jose, I mean, he plays all year for Notre Dame his final year. Then he gets hurt in the playoffs. He's not available for the national championship game. But the next year, now he's in the NFL. He misses almost all of this year, but he comes back in time for the last couple of games of the season, even if it's single-digit snaps a week. And then he makes an immediate impact in the Super Bowl. And as you know, just talking to him back then, he was super eager to have a full offseason, to work with Mike Macdonald, to work with Adam Dirty, because of how well he was able to rehab. And he looks, I mean, the strength is one thing. I think the versatility of what could be done on that line, like you could have him as a big end, you could have play a 5 tech, 3 tech, even maybe a little bit of nose. It's tantalizing what he can do, especially as a pass rusher. Like having another interior edge rusher, especially as Jaron Reed is coming toward the twilight of his career, having Riley Mills step up would be huge for this team long term.
And Jaron Reed looked great today.
Yes.
Jaron Reed is not like, I know there's some people that are quickly like wanting to say like, hey, I'm dismissing him or whatever. Like I could see Jaron Reed being one of those dudes that plays at a high level till he's like 37, 38 years old.
Yeah.
Like he's in phenomenal shape. He takes great care of his body.
Yeah. They do a nice job of rotating him, keeping the reps.
He's going to keep fresh. But like Riley Mills, man, he has maybe been the MVP of this training camp for me.
Yeah.
I have been blown away in one-on-ones. I've talked about this a ton, but they did usually it's 2 reps with the guys. You don't see a grudge match. John Benton was like, look, we got to have Anthony Bradford versus Riley Mills. They're arguably the 2 strongest guys on the entire team going against each other. 3 straight battles that were like stalemates, and in a good way. Like it was just, it was as good as you're going to see in one-on-ones. But like this kid has a nasty swim move. He has a really good spin move for a taller big guy that he'll sprinkle in. He loves to use the arm rip move. He can punch. He's got a lot of different stuff he can do. And by the way, he can play in a 2-point stance outside. They've done that with him a couple times. That is where he has big cat in him. He can move up and down a lot. He can play nose. Like he can play anywhere on that defensive line. There's a reason Adam Dirty was like pounding the table 2 years ago in the 5th round. Like, go get this guy now. Like, get him for me. He wanted him earlier than that. He makes a very, very good defensive line, potentially just flat out scary this year.
We're going to switch over, talk about the offensive side of the ball a little bit. Then we're going to talk about some hard knocks, right? We're going to get some Brandon's thoughts on that. We've kind of discussed it amongst ourselves today. But first, we got to take care of our sponsors. Let me get Brandon back in here because he's part of this as well. I want to let you know about Prize Picks, the #1 sports pick app in the country for daily fantasy sports. There's a reason for that. It is the easiest app to use. The first thing I want you to do when you download it is get on the social feed. Follow me at Seahawks Forever, all one word. Brandon, where can they follow you?
At SeahawksNester.
At SeahawksNester, all one word. You can see our lineups. You can see our picks. You can copy them if you think they look good, or you can razz us for them, as usually the case when you see mine. What's a lineup? Well, to me, that's the best thing about the app. So what you do is this. Download the Prize Picks app today. You sign up and you use the promo code HMA, and then you build out your lineup. We got the Mariners here behind us. Oh, shocker, still no runs in the 6th inning. Haven't scored yet with their new and improved lineup, but that doesn't matter because when you set a lineup, you go to any game in any sport, you scroll through the players in the game that night, and you simply select more or less on a number of statistical categories. And if you want to give yourself the best chance to win, just select less when it comes to the Mariners, and you might end up winning. So download the Prize Picks app today. Sign up using the promo code HMA, and they've got a special offer for you that's brand new. You play your first lineup for $5. If you win that lineup, they're going to give you $150 in additional lineups instantly. Check to see if it's available in your state. It's available in most states. Always play responsibly. Prize Picks. It's good to be right. And then bear with me on this one, you guys. There's some legalese in this one. I got a new little ad read for you. What's one money lesson you wish you'd learned earlier, and how are you passing it down to your kids? For all the parents out there with teenagers, we know you're already trying to keep a million different things under control. Cash App is here to make sure your teens' money and their spending isn't adding to that craziness. It's never too early for your kids to start saving. Small steps today can build strong habits tomorrow. Cash App is now offering teens interest on savings so they can grow money faster, all under your guidance. You can sponsor your teen on Cash App to set them up today. There's no hidden or monthly fees, no minimum account balances. Teens can start with as little as $1 and grow from there without paying anything extra. You can also manage everything directly from your own Cash App account without having to switch between the two, making it simple to stay connected to your teen's financial activity in a way that's both efficient and empowering. Download Cash App today and sponsor your teen. Visit the link in the bio. Cash App is a financial services platform, not a bank. Banking services provided by Cash App's bank partner or partners. Prepaid debit cards issued by Sutton Bank, member FDIC. Cash App Visa Debit Flex cards issued by Sutton Bank, member FDIC, and the Bancorp Bank NA pursuant to a license from Visa USA. See terms and conditions for the Sutton prepaid card. Appreciate that. Let's get back to football, shall we? And first, let's do this. Let's say hello to some people. We got a new member here. What is this username? White Eagle Bradley and then something. Good to see you, Bradley. Thanks for being a member. We appreciate you being here. Our buddy Josh Height, who y'all saw on the show last week, and a bunch of you watched that video. Good to see Josh here. Josh does a lot of work with Bryce over on, what's his official title?
Director of Research and Draft Analysts.
Can we make an what's that called?
An abbreviation?
Yeah, no, that's not the word.
An acronym?
Acronym. Can we
I'll
get
work
it?
on it.
Drata.
Might need to-
Drata, there we go. I like it. Corbin's named it.
There you
Drata.
go. Tighten that up a little bit.
Makes him sound like a mythical dragon. Release the
It almost
Drata.
sounds like something that would come off of Austin Powers, to be honest. I shall call him Drata.
No, it sounds like a new model of a European car, right?
The Drata.
The new Nissan Drata. Josh is going to join us on Saturday in the pregame show before Football Fest. It'd be good to meet him in person. He says, "What's up, fellas? Can't wait to see you all Friday." Scott 23 Dogs is joining us. Says Hard Knocks was awesome. The running back coach, damn, what a speech. We'll get to Hard Knocks here in just a little bit.
Breaking news.
Julio Rodriguez with a 3-run home run, 103.3 miles an hour off the bat.
So how many innings does it take till the bullpen gives those runs
Hold
back?
on now. Because now
He's been hurt, folks. He's been hurt.
Now
times before.
Dan Wilson will actually use his good relievers because we have a lead. He won't punt on the game because they're down by 2.
Yeah.
Don't get me started. But, man, that felt like a big relief for Julio. He's really been struggling in the slug department. 3-0 lead for the Mariners in the 6th inning. We're going to talk all about Hard Knocks here in just a little bit. So my 2 cents worth, hang on. I'll save your super chat for that as well. Let's do this too. Let's talk about offense first. Let's talk about quarterbacks.
Okay.
Right? We talked a lot yesterday about Jalen Milroe. I thought it was the best practice I'd seen him have in person start to finish, most complete practice. Your first chance to get eyes on him in person this year in year 2 now. For those of you that don't know, Bryce doesn't just host the Hawks Eye. He also runs a quarterback academy, coaches high school kids, works with quarterbacks. What did you see from Milroe today?
He looks a little bit more refined in his passing, which is a good thing to see because last year I think you saw a lot of short arm, a lot of bad habits that he had developed in college that you could see come out in that. And let's be honest, in college he ran anytime he really could because that's what he is better at than anybody. Mm-hmm. What I saw today, though, was I saw a guy that really took last year as a true learning year and watching him go through progressions now. You can see him go through 1, 2, get to 3, and then, okay, now I need to leave the pocket. Now I need to get out and make something happen. And that's where I see the growth for Jalen Milroe. It's not like, okay, yes, he can run, or, hey, look at him throw this 50-yard bomb down the sidelines. We've seen him do that. It's him throwing on time. It's him getting through his progressions and hitting the first or the second window on a route. And especially in the red zone early on today, I saw that a few times. Foster being a recipient on a couple of them. Ricky White, again, he's doing a much better job of not necessarily panicking and the game speeding up on him. I won't say he's necessarily ready to challenge Drew Lock for number 2. I think Drew Lock still got that job very well sewn up. But I think you're seeing enough development in Jalen Milroe to, as a front office, go, okay, he may be a trade piece potentially for us down the road if we can, with Sam potentially being here for a little bit longer, or if he keeps developing, maybe there's a conversation to be had in year 4 for Jalen Milroe.
Yeah, one of the things I noticed with Milroe is more to do maybe with how Brian Fleury is developing him. When the three of us were here last year, we went to, well, you and I went to 2 practices, Dan went to a few more, but everything for Milroe was pretty much in shotgun. And that's what he was doing at Alabama. But Locke, Darnold, a lot of the under center stuff that's Kubiak loved, Milroe is like a different offense. But this year, we're seeing more under center with him. Saw him do an under center play action fake, I think, to Velus Jones. And it wasn't a great ball to Cody White's, but the thought process and the play concept was really good. And also, I'm intrigued by the fact that Elijah Arroyo is working with the threes as well from time to time. So it's not like a concerning thing or anything like that. It's just I know he missed so much time last year and he didn't have the best of rookie seasons. But, when Milroe was a rookie, he was pretty much exclusively guys who had no shot to make the roster. This year, he is getting some reps with guys like Jadarian Price and Elijah Arroyo. And that, I think, is somewhat meaningful for his development. I'm curious to see what Mike Macdonald does in preseason in terms of his playing time and with whom he plays with. But he does look, Bryce, before the team session started, you noted his release point seemingly has changed from last year.
Yeah, it has. He doesn't have, so last year I noticed with Jalen, and again, this is him coming into this whole process, right? He kind of some points would shot put passes.
Yeah.
And this year you can see he's
Flat
actually
foot.
got a longer development, a true throwing motion started to develop.
Yeah.
And the other thing is his lower halves in the throw now.
Yeah.
Last year was very much arm, and that's why you saw the erraticness in, and it's very much what we saw when Sam Howell was here. If you're an arm chucker, you'll hit on a couple of your throws, but the majority of the time you're going to miss. Jalen missed a lot last year. This year, you can see the seam passes. We saw one today for a touchdown where he just perfect spot, lays it right in between the safety and the linebacker. And that's the thing where, again, you see who he's been working with. Where did he go this offseason? Hey, I'm going to go work with Sam Darnold's quarterback coach and Jordan Palmer. And all of a sudden, now you're starting to see the development in those skill sets for Jalen.
Yeah.
And you add the ability of what he can do with his feet. Now you can legitimately look at it and go, this guy could develop into a quarterback that could start in the NFL for you.
And we consistently, the big difference I noticed this year too, and we saw it a lot today consistently, especially in the red zone stuff. And I thought he might have been the best quarterback in the red zone today in practice. I thought he was the most effective. But you see 1, 2, 3, 4. And we didn't see as much of that last year, right? You could really see
Last
him.
year was one and run.
Yeah,
Run,
exactly.
run.
Yeah. And now he's working all the way to the backside. Really encouraging to see. Brandon, what are your biggest questions you have about this offense right now in training camp?
Well, I think the 3 things you guys touched a little bit on Milroe. I mean, I'm sure Corbin's hearing this. The big 3 points that you've heard out of camp over and over, getting hammered at points, has been, Milroe just looks wholly turned around, and it's getting, I think, a tiny bit maybe overstated. There's some there, but right, you're hearing that overload. Elijah Arroyo, every other day, it seems like somebody's talking about him lighting up camp on that side of it. So I guess that'd be a question. And then whether or not the Bradford stuff is truly A1 legitimate, and that we're not only getting Bradford back, maybe a moderately improved, but dare I say, ultimately the best version of Bradford ever that we've seen. Free agent year Bradford, hungry.
Well, this guy, I think has been at the forefront over the last year and a half or so, and was really one of the first ones I thought that had sort of the courage to come out and say, hey, I think this guy's improving to the point that maybe he gets extended here in Seattle. You've been on that for about a year and a half.
I still think there's a really good chance that happens, and I'll give you a couple reasons why. One, he's 25 years old. I mean, he's still a puppy.
It's crazy.
2, John Benton, like if you wanted to have like the guy with the Wolverine holding the picture missing somebody, that would be him if they lose Anthony Bradford. Like he loves that guy. And 3, like he just brings a different mentality to this group that the other 4 guys don't. He's got that cantankerousness to him that he's going to get after, he's going to bully people, and you need to have somebody that has that mindset.
I believe it's cantankerosity is the correct verbiage. I don't know.
Well, I'll say this. I did not find myself once today. It'll be interesting to see on Friday and Saturday. But I did not, where last year, there were moments where you went, oh, Anthony Bradford, what were you doing?
Or where there'd be pressure and you knew
it came from that area.
Oh, yeah,
it's
that's where it
Anthony
came
Bradford.
from. Yeah.
There was none of that today. I didn't notice Anthony Bradford, and that's a good thing. Like there was no bad plays. There was no him looking around going like, oh crap, I missed my assignment. And I talked about it at length this year at points where everyone, when they saw that stuff and you saw the TikTok clips and everything of them smashing it all together, it's like you have no idea what the line call is. Maybe Jalen Sundell called the wrong line protection, and the way that the defense played it left Anthony Bradford kind of in a state of, okay, well, I don't have anybody here based on what we're calling because they gave us one look and they backed out of it.
Yeah.
And I think that's one thing people have to understand when a play is on and there is protection with the offensive line. It's not simply, hey, this guy lined up in front of me and this is who I block.
Yeah.
Because you don't know if that's the guy that's coming. There are line calls. Jalen Sundell's job, especially in a Shanahan-based offense, your center, and we heard Kubiak talk about it, we've heard Kyle, we've heard McVay, you have to have an extremely intelligent center to know your protection calls.
Yep.
So everyone wants to blame one guy because he looks out of place, but it could have been completely due to the fact that someone made the wrong line adjustment and he just got set up in a point of being unsuccessful at that opportunity. No different than when a receiver runs the wrong option route and a quarterback throws an interception. Everyone wants to blame the quarterback. No one talks about the receiver running the wrong route.
He's the Anthony Bradford is the Jordan Love of guards. And so hear me out on this.
Yeah,
Okay.
I like
Okay.
this.
Okay.
Jordan Love, so many people are like, he's a turnover machine or whatever. And then you look at the stats and you're like, wait a second. He's in the bottom 10 in interception percentage. The problem is when Jordan Love throws an interception, it's usually
They're memorable.
It's a Dr. Phil like, what
Yeah.
the hell are you doing?
Yeah.
Like type ordeal. Like you don't know what he's looking at,
Yeah.
whatever. When Anthony Bradford misses, it's usually like it is one of those plays that looks like it belongs on football follows.
Yeah, where he's looking at the quarterback. He's
But the
turning
thing
around
is,
his back, yeah.
he and Gray Zabel had almost identical pass block efficiency rates last year. And everybody was raving about, and Gray Zabel had a great year. I'm not taking away from that. I'm just saying, like, you got to look at the entire film. And when you do that, especially in the playoffs, like, how many of those big runs Ken Walker III had where you're like, well, Anthony Bradford just turned somebody into part of the, in a couple of cases, he started to bury the guy under the ground. Like, he was
Yeah.
a huge part of that.
And I'll tell you another point too is who's pushing him, because I don't see it. I really liked a lot of what I saw from Bo Stevens. I was excited they made the move to get him in the 5th round. He's working with the threes. Christian Haynes seems pretty solidly the backup to
And we
Bradford
know
right
who
now.
he is at this point.
I would say that the only other interior offensive lineman that's not a starter that I think is having a good camp from what I've seen the last couple of days is I think Mason Richmond is the best of that group, and I don't know if they're going to give him an opportunity to push him. I don't think there's any question. This might break the hearts of some of the Seahawk fans that still are slow to come around on this. I don't think anyone's pushing him.
No, you've got Anthony Bradford, and then you've got 50 flights of stairs, and then you've got everybody else. And Mason Richmond.
It's the Moneyball line. What is
think-
it? 50 miles of shit.
And
I
then
think.
it's us.
I think. When you look at this group, Mason Richmond, I think they are behind the scenes planning for him to be their backup center next year.
We were talking about that same thing.
That's what
Yeah.
I think is going on.
Yeah.
They're getting him work at guard, but
The reason why we were talking about it is Brady Henderson has brought this up, the potential. And while I don't think it will happen during preseason, it could still happen to a center-needy team. Olu's on an expiring contract.
Sure.
Well, it'd be great. I think he is a starting caliber center in this league. But if Seattle has got a need for something, if they want to pick up a player or add another draft pick to make it 100, that Oluwatimi would be one of those possible trade pieces. And I know there would be the concern like, okay, what happens if Sundell goes down? Well, Mason Richmond could be a backup center. I know they've had Christian Haynes do some center. He even did some center last
and
year.
they like Federico Moranguez. Moranguez has been working some at guard with the second team in camp too. So they've been playing him at multiple spots.
Yeah.
Yeah. Just curious, we noticed Bo Stevens had a pretty significant rap on his.
And that was the first time we've seen that today.
So that's
Didn't
brand
seem
new.
to hold him back from anything.
Yeah.
though.
He was being the hype man. He was having everybody sing Beastie Boys. So I was like, we were wondering, okay, is there some sort of issue there, like when Eagle Eye Bryce spotted the thing with Christian Haynes last year on his pec?
He's got a good eye for that. Yeah.
It's Hawkeye. That's right. It's the
And-
Hawk's eye.
What's going on with Haynes exactly? Last year we had the innocuous injury pop up. We were told when he first came in the door, well, maybe he needs to get stronger. At this point in time, what's the excuse at this point? Is this just a miss? Is this guy on his way out the door? I mean, you say it's Corbin 50 steps down to a Christian Haynes you took in the 3rd round. You'd hope at least He's not pressing Bradford that I can go to him and he's going to be a high level backup that I got at least in the third round. Is this? I'm reading between the tea leaves here, reading between the lines. This does not seem to be the case.
Look, before camp started, I had him on the outside looking in, but at this point,
same.
I don't know if that happens because we haven't seen Bo Stevens rise up. Now, maybe that's still to come.
Sure.
We've seen that with draft picks where preseason games start and then the light comes on. Maybe Bo Stevens is that guy. I haven't seen much. I mean, Bryce Cabledu's biggest thing he's done is getting fights.
Yeah.
I haven't really, and
he might be my biggest disappointment in this whole camp from what I've seen so far.
Yeah, he didn't look good today, even when he was out there. Like,
but he's been getting a lot of third team reps
he looks
for a reason.
slow. Like, that's how I look. Like, when he came out, one of the big things talked about with Bryce Cabledu was, look at his RAS score. Like, look how athletic he is.
Right.
And then watching him today, like, he looks slow out of his stance. Like, he gets bullied. And it wasn't like he got bullied on a rep by a J.R. Singleton who just, like, took him and walked him back. And I'm going, like, dude, you're bigger than this guy. Like, you're supposed to be a bit of a mauler. And the whole offseason, you're practicing at guard. And that was the whole thing, was he was going to be a guard. And that's what he got comfortable being.
I think he's on, like, not just on the bubble. I think he is severely on the other side at this point. We'll see.
Well, I want to ask you guys about, and you in particular, a former college teammate of his, because it looked like we might have a little bit of a roster battle for that third tackle spot. We know Josh Jones is pretty firmly entrenched as the veteran swing tackle. Seems like whatever the issue was at minicamp seems to be behind him. He's out there running as the second tackle at both left and right tackle, it seems like. But it looks to me like as impressive as Amari Kite was all through last year, the undrafted free agent, Logan Brown was ahead of him, it seemed like today, for the most part, at left tackle. That's Charles Cross backup. They were switching him back and forth left and right, and it seemed like he was right there even with Amari Kite. What are you seeing from Logan Brown? I liked him at the Senior Bowl.
I did too. The biggest question with him was there were some character concerns coming out of college.
Yeah.
And you know, it seems like John Benton really likes him. This is a true story in OTAs, though. John Benton they were doing some sled drills, and John Benton goes, "Hey, Aaron, you're up," and it was Logan Brown, and the whole team is like, "Aaron," like whole offensive line, and then he got done with it, and Benton by that point realized, "Oh, I don't know your name" or whatever, and then he's like, "I'm just gonna call you Aaron the rest of the year," but you can see some of the goofy personality that John Benton is, but yeah, he's such a net. He looks like his RAS score when he's out there.
We were talking about his body. He's improved his body.
No.
And that's the other thing, going back to Anthony Bradford real quick. We just talked a little bit about Riley Mills and the 3 reps that they had in one-on-ones against each other. Riley Mills had a filthy spin move that he put on Anthony Bradford. In the first 3 years, if Anthony Bradford has somebody spin past him,
gone.
The spin cycle, it's quarterback's done. He recovered. He got back and got his hands on Mills and stonewalled it. So, his quickness and just his confidence to get back there. He had a really good RAS score coming out at 330 plus pounds. Now it looks like he has figured out how to use those traits more. So, it's funny. We're talking about these guys, and that's really the thing that stands out right now is you've got certain guys that are playing to that athleticism, and you've got a couple guys that are not, and that could end up being the difference on who gets roster spots. Honestly,
I'll tell you what, though, the overriding theme is this roster is deep.
Yep.
I mean, there were times that you couldn't discern by the naked eye whether it was 2s or 3s out there. I think that really speaks to the roster. Brandon?
Oh no, it also goes back to the basis of this offensive line and what you're seeking for inherently goes back to the Bronco days, which is that we need the guys to be athletic and we need them to be able to move in space, and that those guys that can do that are going to have a headway to making this roster for those guys that does not come to life or show up on.
And I'll tell you another thing that can help out an offensive line is getting the ball out quick. And it seems like, we love to talk about Jalen Milroe. We've spent a bunch of time talking about him in the last 24 hours. I thought Sam, even though the defense kind of ruled the day and got the upper hand on the offense for the most part the last couple of days, boy, I think Sam looks good. He looks comfortable, and he looks in command, and he's making some high-level throws.
Sam finally looks like a guy that...
And you noticed something different, that he's made an adjustment, right?
Yeah, so I'll start with this. I'll say this. This is the first time I think Sam's truly is comfortable. He's comfortable in who he is, and where he is.
And that's not a bad thing. Sometimes guys getting comfortable is a bad thing, but not in this one.
No, and in
Maybe
this case,
Baker Mayfield's a little too comfortable. Maybe.
yeah, just a little bit. But the one thing I've noticed with Sam, and I saw it today, and Brandon, I think you'll appreciate this, he's kind of changed his carry point of the ball. And so last year he got a little bit long with his throwing motion sometimes, and he'd kind of separate early and have kind of just one hand on it. And the one thing I noticed today was up a little higher, it's a little tighter, but he's got a little bit more of a quick delivery. That ball's just coming out, and it's not like he's lost anything on it. But even when he was moving in the pocket today and had to make adjustments and get out from inside, last year a couple times he's dropping his arms, he's going into a more of a sprint. Ball's tucked away, it's tight. You can clearly see he went to his quarterback coach this offseason and went, hey, I struggle with a bunch of fumbles, ball security in the pocket. I need to adjust this, I need to fix it. They've made a small tweak, and it's also helped the passing game because Sam's getting that ball out so quickly, and it's so accurate. Like, there were some throws today where I was just like, well, yeah, no one's challenging you. Like, there's no question.
We saw a throw today that he threaded, but like, you talk about layering a throw. It was layered and threaded in a tight window, 3 defenders in the area. It was
But then you got to mention the deep balls, like just how good he looks with Rashid Shaheed. And I was saying this in OTAs, like just the night and day difference with the timing with those guys.
Yeah.
And he's hitting Shaheed in stride. Woo! You've got a 4-pronged monster there. Cooper Kupp looks like he's 28 again.
He does.
He looks more comfortable in this offense than when he did in Kubiak's last year, in my opinion. And we talked about this a little bit off air with just where I think the changes are happening in this offense, where after going back and looking at it, and I've done a bunch of research, like their offense last year looks closer to the 2012, 2013 Houston Texans offense than it did the Shanahan offense, which is what we were kind of promised. What I'm seeing with Fleury, you're seeing the West Coast Shanahan offense in a lot of ways, especially with the fun two-back stuff that they're doing. But the one throw today where I kind of went, Sam, you got lucky that we're not in pads, is when he threaded it down the sideline to JSN. It ended up being a touchdown, but it was off where they had basically a fake screen to Shaheed. JSN ran vertical on a fade, and you had Barner down the seam. And he hesitated a half second. He still ripped it and put it on the mark.
Yeah.
But I think Tayakata might have blown up JSN when it came, and it might have been
extra hit.
Okay, you got a little greedy there.
Yeah.
That might have been a 15-yard. That's an old-fashioned.
Yeah, that was the Vernon Davis, Cam Chancellor moment with
the way Tayakata's been hitting people too. Tayakata's one of my favorite players in this team. He is a Mike Macdonald guy through and through.
Yeah.
And I mean, if you wanted to look up Mike Macdonald guy in a dictionary, it would be either him or Devin Witherspoon. I think Spoon is the more talented version of the two, but Tayakata is just toughness, grit, and extremely smart.
And he's a Carl Scott guy too. I mean, Ty was one of my favorite interviews during Super Bowl week because he couldn't say enough good things about how much Carl Scott developed him. And Ty was here when Pete was here, but Carl was also on the staff.
Yep.
And Carl was one of the few holdovers from the Carroll staff to the Macdonald staff. And he's really grown under Mike Macdonald from like a special teams guy, occasionally on the practice squad, and then on the active roster and back and forth too.
And now he's a legitimate starter.
He's a legitimate starter. We're
NFL.
seeing him in some single high looks earlier in today's practice, at least early on. It doesn't look like Bud Clark is just going to be thrust into the starting lineup, and that's not a bad thing. It doesn't mean that Bud Clark is going to be getting 0 snaps every week. It's going to be like Okada's going to get the bulk of the snaps, but sometimes you might get the 3 safety look, and you're going to see Bud Clark maybe playing some slot corner. So it speaks again to the versatility and the depth that the Seahawks have at safety. And if I could make a Legion of Boom comparison or a juxtaposition, whenever Earl or Cam got hurt, I mean, shout out Kelsey McRae, but like the depth after those two guys ever got hurt. Infrequently with Earl, but the Steven Terrell experience we'd like to forget. Bradley McDougal was probably one of the few
Who was
success
the one
stories.
that replaced Chancellor during the holdout?
It was the Dion Bailey one game, so they had to move. I think Deshaun Shedd went from quarter to safety, or maybe back to safety afterward, because they would go 0-2 and said, Cam, it's time to pay you. Holdout's over. So that is a stark difference. And look, we can relitigate everything regarding the roster building of the post Super Bowl team from 2013. But just to focusing on the now, the depth that the Seahawks have in this secondary is really, to me, arguably better than the Legion of Booms. I'm not saying that this Legion of Boom starters are like neck and neck with the dark side starters in terms of the secondary. Like, we still got a ways to go before we make those comparisons. But the depth in the secondary, and especially at safety, I think we're seeing something really special, and a lot of that is just through Macdonald's vision.
I'm curious, Dan's thoughts on this. Like, just when you look at the way John has drafted the last 5 years, and especially these last 3 years, compared to that post-first Super Bowl where, like,
Yeah.
the Tedrick Thompson,
Delano Hill.
15 to 20. Yeah.
they were
2015,
drafting. They were
20.
trying to draft a type rather than drafting like let's just go get a damn good football player. And now John Schneider's like, you know what? I'm just drafting damn good football players. We're seeing it with Riley Mills, Torrey Horton, and in the safety group. I mean, Nicky Minwari falling out of the first round and then going up and getting him.
Yep.
Bud Clark, I think, is going to be a really good player. But look at the 7th round corners this year. Like, you guys remember Harold Simon?
Yeah.
Like,
gosh.
big bodied guy, long arm, but like didn't make plays.
He was
Like,
supposed to be Richard Sherman 2.0. Remember?
but these two rookie corners come in 7th rounders, and
Yeah.
like they look like legitimate NFL players.
Yeah. No, and that's, we went into that draft with 4 picks. We end up with 8 and a bunch of 7th rounders. And you think,
Devin Eastern had some good plays today too.
Yeah. And that's the thing. You think, okay, we talked a lot about it during the draft and some of our coverage, right? I'm sure Brandon and I have had these conversations as well that it was a strategic move because when you have a roster like the Seahawks, it's harder to recruit undrafted free agents and get agents to convince them to sign with you because they're not going to have the opportunity. So let's pick up extra 7s and draft the guys that we like. And so you expect to show up and see that they look like practice squad players. They all look like rosterable NFL players. It's going to be a very, very difficult roster.
Getting
cut
those
down.
guys to the practice squad. I think that Dansby and Eastern are the two that I think are going to be the hardest because Dansby's got the ball skills.
Fuller too, though.
I can see all 3 of them get hit, but I just think Dansby's fluidity and his ball skills, the ability to create turnovers, and then Devin Eastern, you just don't see many 6'5", 315-pound guys that can play nose, 3-tech, and big end. Those guys just don't grow on trees.
I can see this kind of a situation. We saw it a lot with Artie Burns for about a 3 or 4 year period, right? Where the decisions at the cut to 53 are going to be less about who's our best 53 and more about who can we protect. You might be able to waive a Noah Igbenogany and then get him. Maybe he has to sit out a week so you don't have to guarantee his veteran salary, that whole dance, right? But maybe he gets through waivers because he's bounced around the league and teams haven't jumped and we were able to get him for
releasing
almost
a
veteran
rookie that's
minimum.
got 4 years of club control.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And then you bring him back. And so there's certainly going to be some strategy there, I'm sure.
I was going to say there's one little wrinkle into this year's cut down process. We already know that the Carolina Panthers love them some former Seahawks. They've done this multiple.
Vikings
And now you got the Vikings to deal
and the
with.
Raiders.
So you got the Raiders with Clint, although they haven't exactly been raiding. Sorry for the pun. That was just a subconscious thing. But they haven't been raiding the Seahawks cabinet. I mean, they tried with the coaching staff, but couldn't. They got Dennison and they got Janoko, and that's it. But Derek Young is the only Seahawk even on that roster from last year's team. The only other Seahawk on that roster, period. Philip Dorsett, I found out, is still in the league. But yes, he is with the Raiders.
Was he really a Seahawk, though?
Yes, for like 5 minutes.
That's like
but-
saying CJ Spiller was a Seahawk,
yeah,
too.
exactly. Seahawks legend C.J. Spiller. But the
He got a
Vikings,
touchdown.
yeah, he
That's
did get a
true.
touchdown.
Oh, that's right.
The Vikings with Nolan Teasy, what's the first thing he did? He signed 2 guys the Seahawks waived.
Yeah.
So I think that the Vikings are another player in that.
There's going to be
waiver
at
wire.
least one trade before the cut between those two teams. Someone that the Vikings are afraid won't get to the practice squad, the Seahawks too, and there's going to be a shuffling there. That's my prediction.
I got to ask Corbin
Or-
next, and we'll go. Sorry, Brandon.
No, you're good. Go ahead.
With the offense, you're a running back coach by trade. This running game still looks like it's in infancy a little bit. Like today, it did not look good, and that's not a thing on the running backs. It's just something hasn't clicked yet with what they're doing.
I'll tell you what hasn't clicked. They haven't really been able to. Here's the thing. Until we get into game situations, the deeper I get into this, and I know this from coaching running backs, until you actually have the real bullets flying, you can figure things out in the passing game, you can figure out pass rushing and all this stuff, but especially with a zone scheme, where everything has to be playing at game speed for you to get the right reads, even if defenders are thumping and you're in thud pacing, if they're not coming up to tackle, that still changes the pacing of things. So I'm kind of with Mike Macdonald, what he said today, where it's look, we're fine. I like where we're at. I don't think there's any reason to worry about it. especially with a non-padded practice like today. To me, those are so.
Yeah, they're shitty for running backs.
It's literally it really feels like a fruitless exercise.
You know what it's great for though? Receivers. And you talk about depth. This group, now that we get to see, you touched on it, Rashid Shaheed with a full off season. We're seeing the connection. And I thought he looked like a complete receiver today, too. There's some people that just think he's a deep threat. He's only a long ball guy. He made some catches in traffic today, coming back to the football. I can't wait to see what he does with a full off season. And now Torrey Horton, and seeing him, and he looks healthy, he looks explosive and dynamic.
Juking guys out. Yep.
Brian Fleury has to play more 11 personnel than Clint Kubiak did last year. You have to find a way to get Shaheed, Horton, and JSN on the field at the same time, don't you?
So,
we've got a fight in the Marinade game. This is
a pitch, so
first time we've seen benches cleared. Well, here's what happened.
Yeah.
Little breaking news here, right? Cal Raleigh got hit in the last half inning.
right on the hip.
Right? No, he was in the gut. He got hit in the nail.
Okay.
Probably the safest place to hit.
Yeah.
Well,
I've never understood this. What the guys in the bullpen
Yeah.
run down like? What's the point? It's already over.
And
Like
so we just hit Dirk Diggler. It looks like. I'm sorry. It's Dingler.
Dingler.
Is the name.
Please don't have a Barry on that team.
Anyway, sorry. We're talking about 11 personnel. He's got to find a way to get those three guys on the field, and we saw some of that in practice today.
He does, but the thing I thought that was really cool today that we saw, and I think again this
Extra
is
surface area on Dirk Dickler to hit.
Thanks for that, Brandon. I think there's a way that he's going to have to do it, but the thing that I liked seeing today was the flexing out of Arroyo. The use of, hey, we're in 12 personnel, but we're in a spread 12 personnel with A.J. Barner and Shaheed on one side and JSN and Arroyo on another. And we're going to stack them condensed and we're going to spread them out on the other. And just some of the things Fleury is doing that way is kind of creative, which we didn't see a lot of last year. We heard about it. We never saw it.
So I'm going to add to this with the two-back stuff. And, of course, this gets me excited because of my running back background. But, like, I remember all those years the Patriots would have, like, LeGarrette Blount and James White in the field together.
Yeah.
And what they could do with that and how much that muddied things up for the defense because you had to, like, both those guys could catch. They were just different kind of players. But Emmanuel Wilson has really surprised me with his hands. Like, he's got really good hands. He had a one-handed grab the other day that I was just kind of like, whoa. And Mike Macdonald said it when I asked him about it, like, hey, sometimes there's guys that we kind of put them in boxes and then we realize, oh, wait, like, that's not fair with this guy. But you have three backs at the top of your depth chart. They're really four because Velus Jones, I think Velus Jones has a good chance to make this roster. And the big reason why is because he is making plays at both running back and wide receiver. He is truly that guy that you can have on your roster. Like, if somebody gets hurt at either one of those spots, hey, I'm fine. Yeah. And he can play special teams at a high level. But you've really got, Jadarian Price had a bad drop yesterday, but he's really been pretty good catching the ball. All four, George Halani's got incredible hands. Those four guys are going to all be able to catch the football. So you can do a lot of two-back sets with the non-traditional. You don't need to have, I hope Robbie Oots is okay, but you don't have to have Robbie Oots or Brady Russell in there. And you can motion George Halani out and have him play wide receiver in a heartbeat. George Halani can do it. He's got that in his DNA. So Brian Fleury's he should not have any, if anything, he's got a good problem because he can do all kinds of different fun stuff with his personnel.
Meanwhile, update, we just finally figured out what it takes to get Dan Wilson to show any kind of emotion or intensity at all. You throw his pitcher out of the game. Gabe Spire tossed from this game despite no warning ahead of time for throwing an inside fastball that clipped a guy on the quads. Dan's fired up. Dan just got tossed himself, I think. Maybe this is the thing that turned him around. But, finally some emotion from Dan Wilson.
Do you think Emmanuel Wilson has kind of surprised even the Seahawks and what they were expecting to get, Corbin?
Mike Macdonald didn't seem to think that, but, like, body language-wise, like, verbally, he's like, it's not a surprise, but his body language, it kind of felt like, we're getting way more than we thought we. And that guy has got some twitch for, like, I remember when my first year in the beat was Eddie Lacy's first season here, and I loved Eddie Lacy coming out of Alabama.
Much different jersey size for 27.
Yeah, different body, and like we joked about it, but it felt like we were watching like a skiff try to drive with cars.
Yeah.
Like it just, but Emmanuel Wilson has the ability, like he can run outside zone and he can turn on a dime and he can get up to head of speed. And then I tell you this, like guys make business decisions with him very quickly, and we've seen it even in training camp practices. Like even in thud, like you know what, I'm just going to kind of act like I'm going for the ball because I don't want to be in front of this guy. And he is a big man.
Yeah, he gives Seattle something that they don't necessarily have with Jadarian Price. So that, I mean, you want diversity in your running backs and what.
And Helani's kind of a blend of those two.
Yeah,
I call him Furious George because he runs with a furious running style.
And he's got some Charbonnet to his game. In fact, I fondly remember Kevin Harlan erroneously calling Olani Charbonnet on his first NFL rushing touchdown in the Cardinals game because he saw 36 and thought 26.
They almost look alike when they run. They
Yeah.
kind of have the same running.
By the way, we saw Zach Charbonnet today working out on the side field, and he wasn't just doing light jogging. He was doing some explosive moves, some jumping, some one-legged jumping.
He sits out 4 games and he's back. That's my prediction.
You think it's weird? So I said week 5 San Francisco today, right, for the Niner game.
I am getting more and more convinced, especially, I mean, people joke with me about this, and I mention it, but like, my mom's a damn good doctor. My mom knows this stuff. My mom and I were talking about, she's done a lot of sports physician stuff, and I told her what he was doing 2 months ago, and she's like, yeah, he's about a month and a half ahead of schedule. So I thought at that point, he'd probably be back mid-season still, but I talked to Zach briefly the other day at camp, and he's in great spirits. He, not a guy that says a lot, but you can tell he is just, and it's, I feel bad for Kenny McIntosh. Kenny McIntosh had a hitch in his step when we were watching OTAs and stuff. He just wasn't right. Zach Charbonnet is walking perfectly normal. He's running perfectly normal. Zach Charbonnet is going to, I'm going to say it right now, he will be back week 5.
Okay.
Yeah, and I mean, it would be kind of fitting because his season ended prematurely against the 49ers. At the time, we thought, okay, he's on the exercise bike. Okay, maybe just dinged his knee. And then we find out he has an ACL tear. But the other part of Charbonnet coming back earlier is that he is by far, to me, Seattle's best back in pass pro. And I don't know how you feel about this, Corbin, but
I don't agree with you.
I'm sorry. I got to admit.
I know who you think it is.
It's Holani, I think. Holani's just got that meanness. Furious George, but
I think I think both those guys are top 5 pass protectors.
Charbonnet and Holani, but like Charbonnet's probably the most complete back. But it's also
I agree.
Price, Wilson, and Jones especially because he's new to the running back position relatively. It's a work in progress for those guys in terms of pass pro. We could see from where we were seated how much Thomas Hammock, wearing long sleeve shirts in mid-80s smoky weather, by the way, how much he was coaching up the running backs, including the new guy who came in, Ty Harden, as far as pass pro.
Yeah, and look, Velus Jones has not done pass protection very much, and you can see it.
Yeah.
It is a struggle. Price, there are some signs that he could get figured out pretty quickly, but you can tell he's very new to it too. And George Holani, I've mentioned this story a couple times already, but Ernest Jones, their first padded practice day, and this is what sets great players apart from good players. Ernest Jones runs over and's like, all right, I want the best. And he points at George Holani. George Holani just kind of nods at him. George doesn't say a lot. George stuffed him 2 straight reps. And Thomas Hammock, you guys have seen, I've seen the clips of Hard Knocks, how he, Thomas Hammock was
Effing Hammock.
He was excited. Yeah, he was really excited, and he should be. But Holani, if I was coaching still, I would put clips from that Super Bowl of him in pass pro because that was picturesque in terms of picking up the right assignment, not getting too deep. That is a huge problem for running backs in the NFL. They get too close to the line of scrimmage and then they're cooked. George Holani understands that. George Holani was helping the offensive line with some of their blitz calls in that game. He is a very underrated mind, and that's one of the big reasons. I mean, John Schneider, of all the people in the building, loves him. And I think he's a football player.
Hey, Brandon, you wanted to ask a question?
Yeah, Corbin, in regards to Jadarian Price, where are you at from where the day of he's drafted and where your stance was in your evaluation of him to what you've now seen on him going through all of OTAs and up through training camp?
He looks like the kid. Sorry I interrupted you. I thought you were done with the
question.
question.
No, you're good. You got it. You got it.
He looks like the kid that I scouted that I've been watching for 2 years because I'd been keeping an eye on him with Jeremiah Love for 2 years. And I just was really intrigued by him. He has kind of a weird body, which doesn't surprise me because that's kind of what showed up on the film. But he's got really narrow calves. But he's got good sized thighs.
Yeah.
He makes up for it with trapezius.
Yeah, his upper body. Yeah. Like,
He
he's
looks
not
like
Robert.
Chubb.
And Robert Turbin and I are good friends, and I've joked with Turbo. I'm like, he's coming for your crown. He's like, boy, he's still halfway to my
That's right.
biceps.
There's that famous picture of Turbin in his first rookie camp where he just had the guns. He's tucking the football. Yeah.
This guy's jacked, but not to that point. But I'm sticking with the comparison I've made for 2 years. When I watch him run, I see a ton of Sean Alexander in the way that he runs. He is a glider it's really hard for guys to get him lined up because he's faster than he looks. And Sean Alexander was an expert at that.
He looks like you took Sean's gliding ability and kind of put it in Nick Chubb's body.
Yeah. I think that's a really, I like that because he's just, I can't tell you what it is. Like Ty Akata, we were mentioning earlier how great of a tackler he is, and Drake Thomas, how he's with his pursuit angles. I've watched both those guys get completely juked out of their shoes by Jadarian Price in this camp because you cannot line him up. He's faster than he looks, and he does have that gliding style, which I think is perfect for a wide zone offense.
And I think part of that is the mental quickness. He's so decisive in what his next move is.
Sean was that way too.
He doesn't hesitate.
Yeah.
And that's what, a lot of running backs, that's how you can get them is they take just a little bit too. Now, I'm not talking about like the Le'Veon Bell style or what we saw from Kenneth Walker in the playoffs last year, where they intentionally kind of slow things down and wait
no
for
running
their
back
moments.
coach, by the way, no running back coach teaches a player to run like that.
Yeah, it's
Though
very
it
weird.
takes
And
a
it's
very
hard to
unique
watch as a
skill.
fan because you're like, just go. Price is like that. Price is never gonna make a fan go, just go.
No.
He's incredibly quick in his decisions and he sees things, man. His vision.
And that's what
is
I love.
very, very, very good.
That's what I always loved about Sean Alexander's running style because Sean Alexander was very decisive with his cuts. And people always talk about the line he had in front, but
Nice. Colt Emerson.
it doesn't matter what line you have in front of you if you're not decisive against NFL defenders. And
Yep.
he was as decisive
Gotta be
as
quick.
anybody. And I see a lot of Sean Alexander in his game. He's not the same body, but everything else. I think even as a pass catcher, Sean Alexander could catch the ball, but it was not like
Could he?
coming into the
Could he
league.
though?
Yeah.
Could he, Corbin?
Not after the
That one screen against the Vikings back in 2002.
By the way, I put this comment on the screen. I love this.
You have to also remember
hadn't-
the offense he was in.
I hadn't heard this before, but the HHG, when we were talking about Eddie Lacy versus Emmanuel Wilson. Eddie Lacy, a.k.a. Feast Mode.
Yeah, that's Terrence Robinson, Field Goals His Own. He does our
nice.
daily links. But I remember when
fantastic.
Eddie Lacy had these weight checks. So back then I was covering UFC and, having to do UFC weigh-in stuff and boxing weigh-in stuff. But when I was simultaneously working with Field Goals, I'm covering these Eddie Lacy weight checks like he's preparing for a heavyweight title fight. Okay, he's
right.
down to 250.
That's
All right, now
I
he's
still
on
remember
250.
Pete Carroll, like, we want him at 250 pounds. I'm like, Pete, there is no way you want him at 250 pounds. Like Derrick Henry, you want at
They
250.
should have made him a guard. Yeah.
Hey, Derrick Henry was 260, by the way.
Guys, should we talk about Hard Knocks a little bit?
Just one last question in regards to just the ongoings in training camp with Corbin. We mentioned Sam Darnold, and I think that out there now there's this finally acknowledgement nationally that he's kind of into that top 10 phase of quarterbacks and where he's at. With this maybe increased level of confidence, with the continuity of a second year in the same system, albeit a new OC, do you see this as a guy that we could be talking about as actually, and I know he's not going to get the attempts, but by performance as a top 5 kind of quarterback by the end of the year?
I think so, and a lot of it's the weapons he's got around him. I mean, I mentioned this earlier. He's got a 4-pronged monster at wide receiver, and I think Jake Bobo. He's been hurt, but I think Jake Bobo can be a really good fit in this offense too. So. I think, and we're not even
tight end
counting for
group.
Barner and Arroyo
Yeah.
and the guys that can catch out of the backfield.
Yeah.
I think that Sam Darnold can be in the running for MVP when this is all said.
I said that I've said that.
I think it's going to depend on how efficient he is with the gaudy stats. So what I mean by that is, like the year that Lamar won the MVP in 2023, he didn't have great passing stats in terms of the high volume of touchdown passes or anything, but he also had the rushing yards to go with it. With Sam, are they going to pass more? And if they are going to pass more, is that going to lead to more touchdowns? Like if he has like a 20th in attempts and he has 32-ish, 34 touchdown passes, let's say 8 or 9 interceptions, and the Seahawks are right up there for the 1 seed, absolutely he could be in MVP conversation. Anything less than that?
And I think he completes close to 70% of passes in this
So
offense.
it's funny because I saw today in comparison to last year, and this is where I've gone with this with the offense. I think the offense will be actually more balanced this year. It won't. That's the big thing I think Fleury's going to bring from Shanahan is the balance and the expanded drop back game, which I don't think we had last
And maybe
year.
when the bullets start flying in the regular season, regular games, it changes. But I've seen the last 2 days, we saw it a lot today. He's not hyper focused on JSN as much as we saw him during the regular season last year. We could see a situation this year. Maybe Jax doesn't catch 100 balls this year. Maybe it's in the 90s. Maybe it's 1,300 yards, but maybe he has 10 or 12 scores instead, and he's more efficient in that area because I do feel like the ball is going to be spread around more.
Yeah, I was about to mention what we noticed, and Brandon, you'll be interested in hearing this because of just past Syndicate episodes we've had. We saw a lot of work on shotgun straight drop back passing. Not a lot of the under center play action. Sam said on Hard Knocks, I love under center 7-step drops. Well, we didn't see a ton of that today. We saw quite a bit of emphasis on getting the drop back passing game working more effectively because last year they were by far the best team by DVOA in play action passing. They had the biggest disparity in DVOA in the entire league when it came to play action versus straight drop back. Now, they weren't bad in straight drop back. It's just that was an area where I think they fell short at times when the play action game either wasn't used enough, like in the first game against the 49ers or in a little bit of the Vikings game. But there is still room for improvement there, and I think they can have that in part because of that that full offseason with Shaheed. With Torrey Horton coming back. Go ahead.
I was just going to say, I thought you were wrapping up. Sorry. Before we get to the Hard Knocks conversation, question here from Scott. Dark horse candidates on offense and defense. So he asked this a while ago, but I'm going to frame it this way because we've talked about a lot of guys. Who's somebody on offense or defense that we haven't mentioned yet that one of you might think has a chance to make the roster, maybe we haven't given enough attention to?
I think someone that might have a bigger role this year and be a little bit more impactful than he was last year is Nick Callerup. I think he's going to be interesting in that in what Brian Fleury wants to do with those tight ends. I think you're going to see a bit more of an expanded role for Callerup just because, again, he's a bit of a different body in that group because he's got the height of Arroyo, can move a bit, but even today he showed some soft hands, but he's one heck of a blocker.
I'm such a Nick Van Etten fan and was so happy when they made that signing, and I thought he looked every bit the player the last couple of days I've seen him that he was when we traded him away 7 years ago or whatever it was. I think it's tough for Callerup to make this roster. We even talked about when you and I were standing together, like he's not as fluid as those other guys in that tight end room.
No, but I think out of that group, he's probably one of your best blockers.
Sure.
And if
he is.
we
And
don't know what's going
that's why
on,
he made the roster.
And I think if we don't know what's going on with Robbie Oots,
Yep, that's a really good point.
Yeah.
Brady Russell's good, but
He's built the most like Oots. He's built the most like a guy that can handle some
cornbread.
Yeah.
Big guy.
And he's nasty. When you watch him out there as a blocker, like he is, I'm going to take you with my lunch pail and you're going to go 5 yards that way. And it's going to be against your will that you're going that way, and I'll take you that way.
Brandon, is there anybody that we haven't talked about that you really like or are still just really most interested to see when the bullets start flying in the preseason games?
I mean, it's. I think we've kind of mainly covered the people that I would be interested in on this. Obviously, you wonder about Torrey Horton a little bit and whether or not they're going to find a way to get him in there. I think Elijah Arroyo is the guy that you guys didn't cover a lot with it on it as far as the whether or not you can kind of confirm this guy's really going to take a part in this. Because I thought last year, Corbin, the team didn't have as much a plan for how to use him. Mm-hmm. You know, it wasn't just a lack of you weren't getting him targets. It's that you could see there was nothing being built in throughout the week for a guy that was a second-round pick who's supposed to be this mismatch weapon, and you can use him as an X, and you could use him over here, and you can use him over there. Is this going to come into bloom with this guy? You're saying he's running with threes a little bit, so I'm a little worried there on that.
I wouldn't be, because you mentioned it earlier with the depth that they've got, and I think I think they are making a conscious effort to get Jalen Milroe some opportunities to play with some guys that are going to be on the roster. Give him some opportunities to do that, because Arroyo has caught a bunch of passes from Darnold too. So let's not throw that out there like, oh, he's just catching passes from Jalen Milroe. Like, I said this late last week, and now I 100% believe it. I don't think there is a player that is a bigger winner from Brian Fleury coming in than Elijah Arroyo. I see a coach. I actually asked him about this. Arroyo, he is a really soft-spoken guy. Doesn't say a lot, but I asked him, does it feel like lately you have an offensive coordinator that was a tight end coach? And he just smiled like, yeah, it kind of does. And he's getting a lot of action down the seam, which he should be. Like, I think it's malpractice not getting him the ball that way.
Yes.
There was a play last week, and I've talked about Michael Dansby, how great he's been. Michael Dansby was in good position, and he had Max and Hook in good position behind him. It did not matter, because Jalen Milroe lofted it up, and guess what?
Yeah.
This guy is way bigger than everybody else. He can jump like a receiver. Those two guys had absolutely no chance to stop that pass.
And today, the one thing I noticed, Arroyo looks better as a run blocker this year. It looks like he's actually taken that to heart of, hey, that was something I wasn't great at. Like, I'm not saying he's anywhere near A.J. Barner, but he's not whiffing as much, and he's not getting blown back. At least today he wasn't. Be interested to see what he's looking like with pads on.
He wants to be an all-around tight end.
Yeah.
He's made that very clear, and he looks like he's added about 5 pounds of muscle to me, too.
I've been waiting to hear tight end seam since we had Jimmy Graham, and they never used him the right way. Like
Brian Fleury, and maybe even to a fault. Brian Fleury is gonna get the ball to tight ends. He is going to get those guys involved. AJ Barner's going to put us, and that's another reason I think JSN could have a very, very good season, but isn't anywhere near last year, because there's one football to go around, and they are going to run the ball. Yeah. So at some point, if all these other guys are going to catch more passes, JSN's not going to keep catching what he did last year.
So, Brandon, this is where I really want to bring you in. We miss you, buddy. First of all, wish you were here.
Miss you guys too.
I'm not a big Pink Floyd fan, but wish you were here. You know what I mean? Tell me about Hard Knocks. What was your overriding first impression watching episode 1? We've been waiting for the Seahawks to be on Hard Knocks for a long time. The rules used to make it pretty easy for them to say no or not even be eligible. Pete never wanted to be a part of it. It seems like they're embracing the situation. What was your first big overarching impression of episode 1?
A fantastic episode, first off. Watching through all these years, we've had to watch a clown car year after year of organizations running their way through, and it's been awful to watch, where you can see these bad organizations and why they're bad. First and foremost, you see this team and why it's a great organization and how well run it is from top to bottom. And it's just something that just your heart just gets so proud of these guys, and the fact that you get to root for a team that's built this way after seeing so many teams. How many times you guys watch through Hard Knocks where you're kind of cringing a little bit, going, "Oh, why are they running the rules? Why are they like what's happening?"
Yeah,
and so that was the first thing. The second thing is that Mike Macdonald is a true leader of men. We talk maybe too much at times about coaches and X's and O's, and he's a defensive mastermind. Is he an offensive mastermind? Is he this genius? Is he a that genius? Are you a leader of men? Can you take a guy that's a multimillionaire and get him to buy in with all of his heart? And I dare anybody to watch that episode and not tell me that he has every one of these players completely locked in. Yeah, they won a Super Bowl and all of that, but there's a conversation in particular between him and Nick Emanwari where Emanwari's coming in a little nervous on the conversation, a little unsure of himself, and just Mike talking to him over the course of a couple minutes. You've got him sitting down, calm by the end of the conversation, smiling and laughing. And it just, that thing I think is one of the hardest things in the modern era for coaches to capture. I think there's a lot of coaches that are really smart on the X's and O's and how they can call plays and all that. I think it's very hard to connect to these guys and then get them motivated. We have here in Mike kind of the best of both worlds. You have the sort of the drill sergeant, Bill Parcells, like, I can be a hard ass when I need to, but he also can cross the bridge into sort of the Pete Carroll pro player friendly model as well in connecting with these guys. And that always seemed to, if you were going to do that, you had to pay the price of a lack of discipline before. That was the kind of coach you brought in. Well, there's going to be a sword that cuts both ways in regards to that one there. So just his leadership and his control as far as his overwatch of this organization just stood out time and time again last night in a variety of different ways. And it was a fantastic watch, man. Usually there's been times watching Hard Knocks where you start yawning and they get into the
Yeah.
player perspectives on the 8th round pick who ain't going to make it. But this was good stuff, I thought.
The conversation with Eminori, there was a moment there that I thought anyone who manages people should, it's like teaching tape, where when Eminori expresses himself first, that he's unsure about what to do, how to act around his teammates, whether to be present or not. Like, I don't know what to do. I'm on this stupid scooter. And Mike, what's the first thing Mike said? He said, how do you think I'm going to answer this? Right? He put it on Nick to like think through it himself. I thought that was brilliant. Really, really brilliant. I thought the other thing too is like, we can talk about the nuts and bolts of it, and we'll get some comments here as well. This must be a godsend for the Hard Knocks crew, because to your point, Brandon, they get to cover a good team, a winning team, a team that's currently good. And by the way, speaking of winning teams, the Seattle Mariners finally get off the schneid, win it 4-2, 3-run home run from Julio Rodriguez, an attack on from Colt Emerson, makes up for a Bizardo 2-run home run. Anyway, but also, you know, these people that run cameras and produce shows like this, like, they want to tell visual stories. And the VMAX setting was a character in the show yesterday. I thought they did a beautiful job of showing just the grace and the beauty of that whole setting. I don't know how many hours of footage they shot to get all the bald eeagle stuff, but
if they wanted that, they could just go in my backyard.
really impressive. And then the other thing, you always want to see who the stars are and who the guys are that stand out. There were some obvious ones up front, up close, right? Devin Witherspoon's obviously going to be a star. We knew he would be. And then there's some little hints. There was just a little bit of a touch late in the episode of Gray Zabel. I think he's going to kind of show himself as we go through, but I thought it was fantastic.
Well, they also had a segment making Jadarian Price look like the next iteration of Jim Brown, which you'll like, Corbin. So there's a cut up in there about
montages are powerful, man.
It was like a montage of him just busting off 50-yard runs in practice.
Yeah, the way they shoot it with those really high def cameras and up tight.
Is it a Rocky IV caliber montage? Because
and they're interspersing it, Corbin, with like going to Witherspoon, like, that guy's nice. He's nice. And then over to Byron Murphy, and Murphy's like, he had me in the hole, and he had me spinning this way. And then I was like, woo, that guy's good.
They also made Sam Darnold look like Johnny Unitas, like with that montage.
Oh, yeah, he looked like he was Tom Brady 2.0.
Yeah.
The one guy that I thought stood out to me out of this after having watched it, and I think one thing that fans need to appreciate about this when we talk about contracts and we talk about players that are on this, Cooper Kupp is such an invaluable resource to Mike Macdonald, to this leadership group, to this team. There's a scene in there where he's sitting with, it's him and Mike.
I watched this one.
Yeah, and Mike looks and goes, under center. It's like the light bulb goes on for Mike, and like all Coop says, like, glad I could help. And it's just like the effect that Cooper Kupp has on this team goes far beyond, okay, yeah, he's not Cooper Kupp that won the Triple Crown. But the Cooper Kupp I saw today, and Corbin, you alluded to it, like how much younger he even looks running around this year in this offense.
I think he gets 60 to 70 catches this year.
Yeah. And what he did in that like small clip montage of him sitting there in the quarterback room with Sam Darnold, and you hear Jake Peets go, okay, this is the shallow route we've got. Hey, Coop, you need to take this back and teach the receivers. This is what we're expecting out of them. That is something that you just can't put a number on when it comes to a valuable piece to your team and your offense.
It was also another example of the humility that Mike Macdonald has, which I think helps make him such a great leader. To say literally, why didn't I think of that? The guy that is being generally recognized now as maybe the most brilliant defensive mind in the league, to say, I didn't see that.
Yeah.
I thought
wanted to be Rams film. I so wanted to be Rams film they were looking at too.
You know it was. Yep. It wasn't Cleveland Browns film. We know that.
No, unless it's a what not to do instructional for quarterback play.
And then you talk about guys that are going to be stars of this show. How about Thomas Hammock? As a former running back coach, this must warm your heart.
A guy that I went to his coaching clinic in 2014. I saw a much different version of Thomas Hammock when we were in the coaching clinic. I don't think there were any F-bombs.
We ain't gonna be doing none of this shit. We ain't doing none of this shit.
We didn't need to.
Yeah, it was a little different watching him in a coaching room setting. Yeah, I talked about this. I actually think on your show, Bryce, when I was on there, I thought he was the best addition that they made to their coaching staff.
To get a guy to give up a head coaching job.
But that also tells you where college football is.
Sure.
Especially to give up your alma mater's job. When he rebuilt that program, that was a once proud program that had really fallen apart. And his first couple of years, they weren't good, but then he finally got him turned around. They upset Notre Dame, but then he loses a bunch of his guys to the transfer portal. I think he's like, I'm tired of developing guys and losing them.
Programs.
Yep. So I'm going to go to the Super Bowl champions.
Scott, 23 Dogs with the super chat. Appreciate it, buddy. Says Hard Knocks was awesome. Running back coach. Damn, what a speech.
It gave me the Marshawn Lynch interview vibes of if you run through a mother effer's face over and over and over again. I was like, man, if Marshawn's sitting in the back of that room, he's just probably loving what Thomas Hammock is saying right now.
My 2 cents worth, Bobby. Thank you for the super chat. My biggest takeaway from Hard Knocks, everyone focuses on talent, but I'm watching buy-in. Mike Macdonald and the coaching staff have this team pulling in the same direction. That's a bigger advantage than people realize.
You got to have that in any sport.
And it did. I think that was another central theme to episode 1 is... It's still, and I know we've talked about it with the roster in general. It's kind of become sort of in vogue to say that they were a year early. They won a year early. I think Mike Macdonald is still scratching the surface of what he can accomplish as a head coach.
He even says it. He says it when he's talking about the Bulls and the 91 team that the Bulls had. They won in 91, but guys, they weren't even finished yet. They hadn't even started. Mm-hmm. And that's the thing I think that's so scary about this is the Seahawks haven't started.
Yeah, and that's why Julian Love brought up the 90s Bulls reference in that team meeting, even before it went on air with Hard Knocks. When you think about Michael Jordan's career before 91, yes, ladies and gentlemen, there was a time we didn't win a championship all the time. But then Phil Jackson comes in, they lose to the Pistons in 7, but they were right there. They sweep the Pistons pretty much into a dark period of irrelevance after that. But it's the triangle offense. It's buying into team ball. And that team ball mentality, I know Jordan's the face, but you have Pippen, you have John Paxson, you had B.J. Armstrong, and then Rodman eventually. And Phil Jackson knew how to deal with a wide array of personalities. I think Mike Macdonald, certainly with Rodman, that's a personality you're talking about. But with Mike Macdonald, I think he's going to be the same way. He knows how to work with people. You can have all the analytics in the world and all the data-driven decisions you can make. It is still a people business in the end. For example, I think that Nick Sirianni's been to 2 Super Bowls. He's won 1 Super Bowl. But the way I see him as a leader, at least front-facing, and all of the drama that seems to happen with the Eagles every season, I think that shows a stark difference between a guy like him who's got a loaded roster, but it feels like something is preventing them from being more consistent on a year-to-year basis, compared to Mike Macdonald. This is a great roster, but at times I feel like they are greater than the sum of its parts, and a lot of that is the way Macdonald coaches these guys and gets everybody to buy in so that you can leave your egos at the door.
And I just appreciate so much how genuine he is. He doesn't try to put on an act. He's not trying to be anything other than what he really is. He embraces the fact that he's kind of awkward and dorky sometimes, but yet when the shit hits the fan and the bullets start flying, we saw it in we saw it in that very first practice where the offense was really kicking the defense's ass, and then you see the coach come out in him, right? And the whole, okay, we're down 15-1 now. You guys gonna get your shit together or what? It's genuine. He doesn't care what even the humility, I've used that word before, but the humility when he was talking to Eminori about how I used to worry about image, how people thought of me, right? Now I don't give a shit. There's a lot of coaches in the league that wouldn't even admit that they
used to think that.
Because it might imply weakness.
Well, Dan, how many of those conversations have we seen on Hard Knocks before with these head coaches? They're tuned out as they're having these same, not that kind of conversation, but you can just feel that your spirit's not in what you're telling this player. You're doing a go through the motion situation right here. You're doing this because you have to or for the cameras. And that did not feel like that at all last night watching the show.
No, I totally agree with that. A lot of coaches would be like, just attack your rehab. Attack your rehab. Go. You'll be fine. But he wanted to take this as a moment to teach and help Eminori grow.
And my last part on the Hard Knocks I thought I really got out of was the defensive meeting up in Mike's office talking about Nick and where he's at and how crucial he is to what they want to do on defense.
Another great moment.
Just being the open and honesty of hey, for our defense to be the defense it needs to be, Nick needs to be in there.
Yeah.
We need him back as healthy and as quickly as possible because we're different when Nick even worries that.
A lot of coaches would say, Nick's man up.
Yep.
A lot of organizations would say, don't include that clip, right? Because they get some editorial control in these episodes. Yeah, I thought that was a cool moment too.
What I hope that this, because there's still 4 episodes to go, what we learn is which teams, we can discern which teams have got a lot more editorial control. And based on my interview with Pat Harris, the lead director of Hard Knocks, talked to him Monday before I came up here, like, it's not always just, a lockdown, hey, you can't do this, you can't do that. There is a little bit more give and take on that front, a little bit more collaboration as opposed to just, strictly. I mean, we saw it with the New York Giants, and then they realized, okay, no more off-season Hard Knocks after that. They probably should have let some things stay behind the scenes. But one humorous thing that was said, because we're talking about the VMAC and what I expect out of this is that the Seahawks are presented as a high-class organization with high-class facilities, great players, great coaches, great everything, and that's why they're a consistent winning organization. But I asked him, Pat, about the weather situation being up here in Seattle, and prior to the tragic wildfires and the smokiness, it's been beautiful weather otherwise. He said, we preemptively had to get our crew sweatshirts this year for the first time because we thought it might be a little chilly in the mornings, which it might be to start off, but again, that's kind of a first world problem. But I mean, the area, the weather, just being right on the water, I feel like it's one of those when the vibes are just higher, when you kind of have that water breeze coming in your face. And I imagine they're having a great time. And the Seahawks organization, everything that he told me and what I probably have no reason to disbelieve is that they have welcomed the whole Hard Knocks crew with open arms. It's not just going to be, only little morsels here and there.
Yeah. Mark Sanchez, member for 33 months. That's awesome. Says, is it me or did anyone else want to see Coach Mack or John Schneider get out of that monster truck on episode 1?
Oh, geez.
I knew it was Derek Hall because we knew that he did that.
We've known that history with him.
Yeah. But I got to say this. The juxtaposition of who Derek Hall is a person, his background, what he came from, and just being born, no chance to really even live and survive on his own, let alone become a behemoth in the NFL, and he really is. I think his front-facing sort of persona. We even saw a little bit of in this episode with some of the scuffles or whatever. Is much different than the person he is. He's the last person I would expect to have gaudy, obnoxious trucks like this. My biggest concern when I saw him getting out of that damn truck was, don't roll your freaking ankle getting out of that.
I never had any worry because he doesn't have a Niners uniform on.
Can you not buy a substation?
Oh, which brings us to another super chat from Banker L Press. Over and under by week 1, 49ers will have 20 players on the injury report. Well, they had 20 players on the injury report
20% of
today.
our rosters on the island.
Everybody here is
thought that
subscribed
was-
up to the substation, right?
Yeah.
On Twitter.
Substation thing was crazy. I thought, why are we mentioning it? I am starting to believe there is something
It
to that.
can't be nothing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It can't.
For those of you who don't know, Kyle Juszczyk apparently broke his finger today, so you can
Yeah.
add him to the.
So it isn't even just ligaments or muscles.
No.
Like apparently bones are also, everything is on the table for the substation.
Yep.
It's the EMF, Corbin.
They had a guy break ribs
Because Fred Warner tried to punch the ball.
hurt Jordan James.
during the acclimation period before they even had pads on. You're
We're
breaking.
all turning into Mr. Glass from that movie with Bruce Willis and Samuel L. Jackson.
Feed me OG Hawks Nest member with the $2 super chat says, heard Torrey is getting lots of reps on kick return. Is it true? I saw punt return. I didn't see kick return. Did you?
They haven't done a lot of they don't do a lot of live kick return. I think, I'm wondering if that ends up being with the way they go and Rashid Shaheed doesn't do a lot of the kick returns this year.
Yeah, how can he not, Corbin? Because he looked like he could have a Devin Hester potential impact combined with Harbaugh here on a full season, and that's part of why you paid him that, isn't it? Is to have him running that full time.
I would do it, but I'm just saying that the team might look at that price and say we want him healthy for playing wide receiver.
It could be a situation where it's selective, where you go, hey, we need a spark to an extent. We're gonna put Rashid back and give him a couple to get going. Or you see something on film that week and you go, you know what?
Yeah.
Rashid's going to exploit this, so we're going to put him as our kick returner this week.
And I was kind of hoping, especially after the shin injury, that like Torrey Horton would just be out of the equation. Those shins are about this big around. I get really nervous anytime he's back to return a punt. But now he's got rods in both legs, or is it the same leg has two rods in it?
That's
Or
a
is
good question.
is there a
I
rod
don't-
in each leg?
He might have one in each leg.
Because he might just be good to go now.
Bionic
Inspector Gadget.
It's Wolverine.
They do
Yeah.
seem to have a lot of options in that game. Velas Jones, obviously. is another guy
Ricky
with a lot
White
of
looked good
success.
at it, too.
I would also include Emmanuel Henderson there. He had a return for a touchdown
Okay.
in Kansas last year, and he's fast. So
Yeah.
they've got a surplus of options there.
Well, it was the direct result of the ill-fated Laviska Shenault D. Williams experience. So it's like, okay, that didn't work out, but we got 5-6 viable kick returners and punt returners on this team. So that's going to be another tough thing. The special teams battles are going to be so fiercely. It's going to be such a fierce competition just because of the special teams value.
My 2 cents worth, Bobby, $5 super chat, says, were you guys surprised by the John Schneider clip of him ticked off at Rappaport? Cool behind the scenes. I was surprised. I didn't know that John was going to allow that kind of peeling back the curtain type of moment.
He wants
moment.
He wants that confirmed back to Devin. He's talking to Devin's people there. That's like Cold War communication between Russia and America going on right there.
Playing chess with
Bridge
Hard
of
Knocks.
Spies.
Yep.
Yeah, you got tenuous negotiations that can go sideways in a heartbeat with the wrong word said or the little bit of disrespect that can be inferred. We've seen it over and over again, and here you got ESPN running wanton, where it would look like on the surface Seattle's trying to leak that out in order to press Devin down. And so you can understand John getting pissed about it.
I really do hope the deal gets done while Hard Knocks is there. That'd be cool. And then, have you heard anything new on Leonard Williams' situation with his contract?
That is the other one. I'm wondering if that maybe is playing into the Witherspoon thing too, because they have the Christian Gonzalez thing with that is a very rare circumstance where you've got two guys battling for number one paid corner that have the same agent.
Yeah.
You don't have that issue with Leonard Williams, and I think Leonard Williams, based on the conversations that I've had with him in the past, I think you're probably looking at a guy that I don't know that he wants to play past, 35, 36 years old. So I think he's looking at, hey, can I get one more big contract and finish my career here in Seattle? Okay. I don't know. He just seems like a guy that is very passionate about a number of non-football related things. And I think he's now got a newborn child. I could see him being somebody that's like, especially if he wins another Super Bowl, like, hey, I'm good. I've done what I needed to do. I'm out. And not being that guy that plays till he's 38, 39 years old.
He's got a lot more time for Magic the Gathering after, he's one of those guys.
Sword fishing.
Fishing
You could say NFL's most interesting man.
Yeah, he's Leonard Williams.
Leonard Williams could be in the running for that, yeah.
Percentage chance both deals get done before the end of training camp.
85%.
There you go. Okay.
I think the Williams one, especially with the way Williams, I just wonder if maybe that's playing into the Witherspoon thing, like, hey, we're going to end up, I would be shocked if they get Williams done, and then they're like, now we're going to turn and get the Witherspoon one finished up.
Because one's more urgent than the other. One's on an expiring deal, and the other one's got his fifth year picked up.
And again, you don't have, it's not like you have Leonard Williams and another defensive tackle with the same agent.
Right.
And Leonard Williams is not going to be the number one paid defensive
No,
tackle.
that's going to be Byron Murphy very shortly, I think.
Yeah.
He's not getting, Jalen Carter money. I'm thinking more of the Jordan Davis type of range of money that he could end up getting.
Especially at this stage of his, and I think he'd be fine with that.
Yeah.
28 and a half.
Guys, we need to start winding down. Good friend Bryce Coots and his lovely wife have to head back up north before they return on late Thursday night. I want to remind you that Friday night we're going to do this again here from Fast Fashion Brewing, 1723 First Avenue South. We're calling it a town hall. We're going to have a microphone out there for you to ask questions for us. We're going to give some stuff away. I'm going to give away 2 tickets to the preseason Dallas Cowboys game. So remember that. And then, of course, if you're planning on coming to Football Fest here on Saturday, we're going to do a little live pregame show from about 2:30 to 3:30, maybe 4 o'clock. Final thoughts, guys. Brandon, I want to start with you. Again, man, I wish you could be here. We miss you. But final thoughts tonight before we go dark for a day. No practice. Well, there's a practice tomorrow. It's a walkthrough. No public is involved, so we won't be doing anything tomorrow. We'll be back with you Friday. But final thoughts, Brandon.
Well, it's not exactly very exciting, but it just sounds like everything has gone as boringly hopeful as we could want it to go so far through camp. A lack of major injuries, second-year guys stepping up, cohesion and continuity from previous guys coming into this year that were kind of first-year guys last year, looking better and more stable. It just looks like everything's good, and that doesn't give us always a lot of exciting, salacious things to talk about, but it is a great thing for us going out there and being able to repeat again.
And then I want to finish with you because I have a specific question. But guys, final thoughts?
Honestly, like coming from where we were last year with this team and a lot of the question marks that we had, I don't have those reservations this year, even with the new offensive coordinator. What I saw from Brian Fleury today, and I'm excited to see it on Friday as well, and then Saturday with FanFest, is I don't see the first year hiccup that everyone's trying to put out there and he's never called plays before, so he's not going to be prepared. The minute I heard him at the press conference yesterday go, when someone asked, hey, how much is installed of your offense? He goes, the foundation is there, but I can't install a lot of the other things I want to do because we're playing against one defense every day. I can't wait till we go and do the joint practice with Tennessee. That tells me there is a guy that is very prepared for this opportunity and isn't going to let it slip through his fingers and just be a dud on the, offensive coordinator trail.
My big thing for today's camp and the remaining practices we're out on Friday and Saturday is the development of the offense, because I believe that for the Seahawks to be a real shot to repeat, win it all again, I think there's more room for the offense. Well, that's stating the obvious. The defense was the best in the league last year, but there's more room for the passing offense to get better, because I think there could be some hiccups with the running game. That's especially while Charbonnet isn't back until week 5, hopefully. That there's going to be some growing pains with Jadarian Price going up against NFL first stringers over those first few games of his career. But ultimately, the passing game, I think that it could ascend from in that top 10 range to top 5. More explosive plays, more on-time plays, better stats from pure drop-back situations, better quick game, explosives to non-JSN players. So like JSN had the bulk of the explosive plays last year, and when that spigot got turned off a bit, the passing game had some stuttering moments toward the end of the season. But now you've got Horton healthy, you've got Shaheed full off season. You can see what it can do with the Roy and Barner, yards after catch with your tight ends, with your running backs, more screens to running backs. I know that's a taboo thing to say because of our history with that, but they ran the fewest screens in the league last year. But I think that they can do more with the running backs in the passing game. And it doesn't have to be screens. It can include the screens, but more design routes for running backs, wheel routes, Texas routes, whatever. So I think that this passing offense could take off, and especially, and I can't believe I'm saying this after so long as a fan, haven't been able to say this since the Walt Jones and Steve Hutchinson days. I feel really good about the Seahawks offensive line and the depth.
Yeah. There's a recurring theme here. I'm so glad I was able to be there yesterday for the coordinator day. First time for them behind the podium. Just incredibly impressed with Brian Fleury, and that just kind of reinforced all the things that I'd heard about him and what other people are saying about him. He does seem completely ready for the opportunity, and he seems to have taken complete control of it. We saw him today. You kept pointing out like how pissed off he was when things weren't going all that well. I don't know. I was here for a month at training camp last year, and I don't think I ever saw that kind of emotion from Blake Kubiak. Now, I'm not saying that that's not a criticism. Guys lead and they coach in different ways, but he's very, very engaged, and he just seems like next level in his intuition and his intelligence when it comes to football. I want to end on this. So Saturday is Football Fest, right? And it's not the way Pete Carroll was handling it. It's not a scrimmage. It's not kind of a mock game. It's basically just they're just moving practice into Lumen Field. But they do take it as an opportunity to be physical. They're going to be in pads. They're going to hit. Have you gotten any indication from Mike Macdonald as to how they approach that practice, how they manage that practice? What he hopes to accomplish out of that Football Fest practice on Saturday?
Yeah, he talked about it a little bit today. Like, it's not going to be a carbon copy of a regular season or preseason game, but it's a chance for the new guys to, get to know how to get to the stadium. And I know that might sound silly, but for newcomers, hey, we want you to get used to this. Like,
sure.
how we
The
set up the
routine.
locker room, the routine behind it, and they're still going to do. This isn't going to be the Pete Carroll days where it's, hey, we warm up and then 3 quarters of scrimmage
Right.
play. It's going to be more of a normal practice that then has a lot of team stuff that the fans get to enjoy. But he made it very clear that, and I think that I mentioned this on my podcast a couple days ago, that like FanFest, the ability to get into an NFL stadium again before you actually have a game, it, to me, is huge. It's a different atmosphere, especially for the rookies. You want to ease them into that when they, oh crap, preseason game, we have a sellout here at Lumen Field because the fans are crazy. You don't want to just chuck them in on that. Give them like the bottom bowl being full and getting used to that. And your newcomers, those are the things they're going to be trying to do.
Like a soft open.
Yeah.
There you go.
Yeah.
I like that.
I like that. Yeah.
That's Corbin Smith, Emerald City Spectrum. If you don't subscribe to it, you're doing it wrong. Check out the website. They cover all the sports in the Northwest, and they do it as well as anyone. Also, Locked on Seahawks, and he's a full-time beat reporter for the Seahawks. Thanks for taking the time. I know
Yep,
you're a busy
as
man
always.
this time of year.
Yep.
Always good to visit with you. We're going to be back, as we said, on Friday, 7:30 again here at Fast Fashion, 1723 First Avenue South. We're going to purposely go about as long as we did tonight so that when the Mariners game wraps up Friday, you can come in and hang out with us afterwards if you'd like. But if you can be here for the show, we're going to take your questions live, Mike. We're going to have some cool giveaways that night as well. Brandon Kane from San Diego will be joining us again. Mookie, Bryce. I guess that's it, guys.
Yeah.
Right?
Let's
We're
wrap up. Let's get
we're
to
gonna
bed.
see you in about 48 hours.
Yes.
Yeah, we're gonna get some sleep. Let's see, maybe I might have to have one of these pizzas here at Fast Fashion. You guys, I'm telling you, they're one of the best kept secrets in Seattle, and they shouldn't be.
Get the sausage and peppers. Oh my God, it's good.
Fantastic. If you like thin crust, crispy pizza, man, I'm telling you, it's almost as good as their beer, and their beer is really, really good. So make plans to be with us again Friday. Thanks, Corbin, for being here. Brandon, good to see you again. Thanks for being here. We'll see you guys next time. Should we try to do a Go Hawks?
Yeah, we're in person.
We
Yeah.
suck at this, but it's kind of our brand.
Brandon just might throw us off. So
Yeah.
Let's try it again. Here's what we're going to do. We're going to go 1, 2, 3. And so just keep note of the rhythm and the pattern, right? 1, 2, 3, go Hawks. So it's like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Ready? Can we
Yeah,
do this?
Let's go.
1, 2, 3, go.
Go
Hawks.
That was our best one yet.
Yeah.
That was our best one yet. Good night, you guys.
Later.